Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's Pantheon Podcast. My name's Darkkai3, the host of the show, and with me today is AJ, AlphaJackal. How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fine, but a bit terrified at the length of today's show because we have so much to go through in terms of the patch notes.
It's gonna be such a long one. You may have noticed I tried to speed through the intro to try and get the pace going. So, we've got a 4.1 patch coming up soon. We've got a ton of patch notes, a ton of skins, a ton of changes. Everything is changing. Everything is up in the air right now. So, without further ado, we should probably get this started, shouldn't we, AJ?
So we're going to start from the very beginning at a place where patch notes usually end. It's going to be a visual update for one of the gods. This time around, it's going to be the mana gets a new model and card updates around the board, as well as new ability updates as well. He keeps the same base kit, same damage, same everything as before, just an update.
Just a visual update. He looks pretty cool now, although he's not quite a big baby anymore.
No, he's just... He's Avatar. He's Avatar.
Yeah, he's Aang, essentially.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you wanted to play as Aang in Smite, now you can.
You just don't have the big dog thing anymore.
Oh god, no. There is a dog skin as well, and that's the Such Cold Scardy skin.
Oh my god, that skin.
Hi-Rez are late to the meme party once again.
The funny thing is, I said this while it was airing, that sure, they've got the Doge in game now, but I swear someone was watching Hunter x Hunter when they designed Scardy's skin. They saw Hisoka and went, "Oh, that's a good skin. Let's make it."
She looks like the main character from Lollipop Chainsaw in my eyes.
I think Hisoka more than anything else, just because of the clown style. But
yeah,
that's me.
She just doesn't fit with the Doge, I think.
The Doge.
No.
I still can't believe that. And with that, there is a thing coming up as well, similar to the Such Cold Scardy skin. We'll mention that when we come to it. We do after that, we do have the Modern Mercenary Nemesis skin. She's one of the modern style casual clothing skins they want to do, isn't she?
One of the last skins that they actually did of this kind would have been the Curse Apollo skin, and to be honest, that's probably my favorite Apollo skin until the punk rock one came around and just blew everything out of the way. So I'm very interested to see how this one turns out and excited to play it.
And she's got that booty.
She always had that booty.
Now you can see that booty in more high definition.
If you want to see that booty play Curse Apollo, you see that booty very nicely.
That booty all the time. Speaking of that booty, we've got the Nips man himself, Xing Tian. He's getting a new skin as well called the Iron Tyrant skin. Oh, it looks really cool.
Yeah, this one, instead of being purchasable through chests or through direct purchase, this one is the reward for Season 3 ranked. If you get, I think it's Gold Plus in any of the ranked scenarios, you get the skin.
It's Gold 5 or above. I think if you're Platinum or above, you get something else, which we will mention.
Loading frame.
Yeah, which we will mention later on properly. But I'm not going to be able to get the skin, because I don't think I can get from qualifying to Gold 5 very easily. So, that's a shame.
Hey, you can. You just have to play ranked almost religiously at this point.
And I don't want to play ranked. I'm good. Speaking of good, though, we do have NRG Ao Kwang as the next skin. It's not the World Championship skin. This is just the NRG team skin, and it looks pretty cool.
It's not the best of the team-based skins, but it's certainly not the worst. It looks quite nice, and it looks like something he would have.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay, but it's basically his tier 2, isn't it? With just a bit of a t-shirt on it.
These skins are marketed as tier 2 skins, which is just a visual difference to the skins, but everything else stays the same.
Yeah.
So there are some mastery skins as well coming up for Nike, and Ulla gets his ones updated.
Yeah, Nike has... Oh, she looks so cool with those wings.
Mm.
The blue, black, and diamond wings are just... They're so nice. Oh my god, they are really nice. And Ull just looks like Ull, with gold. It's...
He looks like he's staring into your soul, saying, "This arrow has your name on it."
It does. It does. If you look really closely, AJ, you can see AlphaJackal on there.
Oh shit, son.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in hiding for the next bit.
So while AJ is in hiding, we will now go on to there are several skins in the Undying Chest 2017. So if you remember what happened with the previous, not Odyssey, what's the word? Is it season ticket?
Yeah, it was the season ticket.
In the season ticket, you get to certain points and you would be able to unlock Undying chests, and they had various recolors and various skins. We've got the same thing going on this time. So we've got, let's go through the less interesting ones and then go to the final one. So we have Encore Agni, which is the recolor of
the Triumphant Agni skin.
There you go, there's that one. Then there's Dragon's Bane Ulla, which is a green recolor of the Worm.
I can't remember is it Worm Slayer?
Worm Slayer all skin. There's Agony Bologna, which is a purplish recolor of the Torment Bologna skin. There's Pterodactyl Camazots, which is the green recolor of his
Jurassic skin.
There you go, which was his orange one. And we have Idusa Elite Medusa, which is a gold and green version of the Idusa skin. So if you have missed out on those ones for some reason, you now have access to a slightly recolored version. I know some people are a little bit annoyed about Encore Agni because of how you get that skin normally. But I think having access to a recolor version, I don't have a problem with that. I'd like to be able to have that skin because it is one of Agni's nicer skins, in my opinion.
It's a fantastic skin. I do like it. I wouldn't have personally gone for the colors that they chose for the recolor of it, but you get what you're given. And speaking of get what you're given, Full Metal Vulcan is going to be the reward which you can get from this chest as like the centerpiece of this chest.
It is a really, really good skin. So much hype when they showed it on the patch notes. So he's essentially in the same style as Ares, and who was the other one that's got that
Last Commando Rama as well.
That's it.
And that was the reward for the 2016 Undying chest.
Yeah, and he's got a tank tread on his hammer. He's got a turret as his like a proper gun emplacement as his turret. Looks really good, and you can't say if you fire his ult, you've got to turn away because cool guys don't look at explosions. Such a good skin.
I like the mushroom cloud explosion that they do have on the ult. It really gives the sense of it is a big, giant, damaging ability. And
it's Vulcan. You don't want to be hit by that ult. So
no, you don't.
Those are those skins. They are so good. They're looking very nice. Even if some of them are just recolors, looking very nice. Good work to Hi-Rez for those. We do have a new avatar, which is the Cutesy Doge.
Why is my question for this one?
Wow. that's all we can say. So that is the new avatar. There's only one. I say there's only one. We also have a new emote, which is the Vulcan Dance. I don't think they showed it off, did they?
No. Pompon, again, did not have the dance bought. Everyone can blame Pompon.
There we go. And then we've got some new emotes as well. There are emotes now, there are rewards in general for if you can get Diamond Masteries. So you get 1 Diamond Mastery, you get some sort of reward with it. You get to 10 or something. I think they said that the maximum amount to get the final reward was 80x Masteries. So if you want the final things for Masteries, you got a lot of work ahead of you.
And there are a few people out there who will have it unlocked the second that it does drop, and of course, congratulations to them. But for the rest of us, it's a lot of work to go through for something which don't really need. So I like that it's not a hyper-exclusive, mega good skin. It's just a global emote. You
get global emotes. I think you get backing animations as well, if I remember correctly. At some point, I think you mentioned it further down.
You get recoil effects, and you get a change on your loading frame as well.
So you get a few things available to you there. It's quite nice. Some people have been asking for this sort of thing, an excuse to get a God to Diamond, more than just the Diamond skin. Now you've got your excuses to get plenty of them. I've only got 3 diamonds at the moment, so I've got a lot of work ahead of me.
Yeah, and I've got about 22, so less work for me.
You lucky person. And there also is another new global emote alongside the Diamond Mastery, Diamond Demigod, and Diamond Adept. That is the Season Ticket 2017 global emote. I'm not sure what it's going to look like though.
No one does except for Hi-Rez, and with that, moving on to the loading frames, which we just talked about. The Iron Tyrant loading frames are the Xingqian ones, available for Diamond, Conquest Joust, Masters, Conquest Joust, and Platinum Conquest Joust.
Yeah, I believe I mentioned as well that Duel is part of those. So
Yes.
if you are if you are Diamond, Masters, or Platinum in Duel, you will also get access to loading frames.
Yeah, if you're above Platinum in 2 or even 3 of the leagues, it will take whichever one you're highest in and give you that frame.
Okay, so if you want to be known for being a duelist, work hard in Duel and you'll get that loading frame.
And there's also the season ticket 2017 loading frame. Again, no picture has been shown of it as of yet, but I'm sure it's going to look very Celtic themed.
I hope it's Celtic themed. I really do. There's a couple of things I hope that'll come with the Celtic theme, but I'm not going to go into those this time because it'll take ages. We do have the new recalls, of course. We have the Diamond Mastery recall effects, otherwise known as Diamond Student recall, Diamond Master recall, and Diamond God recall, which for those of you who are legendary indeed. And then there's also the Season Ticket 2017 recall effects. Again, part of the 2017 Season Ticket. We're probably going to be getting very similar things we've had before.
And one thing to mention about the season ticket is, unlike previous versions, if you don't have the ticket, you are still earning points towards it every win you get.
Yeah.
Before you had to buy in, before you started racking up points, now you get them automatically. When you buy in, you have those points available for yourself.
If I remember correctly, they also mentioned something else where you can actually do the unlocks without buying the ticket. But if you buy, I think they're doing a free-parter ticket. So you buy one for each part of the season. You will then get access to other rewards based on purchasing the season ticket.
Yeah, they'll go into more detail about it when the season ticket actually comes around. I think it will be 4.2 when it comes live.
Yeah, but it's not surprising. We usually give it a patch, don't they, before we put that live. Okay, we do have a new ward as well, which is the Energy Ward, which is part of the Energy Esports bundle. So chances are you are going to be getting the Energy skin and the Energy Ward along with some FP as we have done with previous bundles, and that is the only new ward in this patch.
Yep. That's pretty much all there is. Tomorrow can also get some achievements in Mirror Match in 3v3. Mirror Match, transform into an enemy god and kill the god you transformed into. 3v3, which is a very difficult achievement to get. Hit 3 gods at the same time with her Deadly Aspects ability, which is her first one, the Inverted Cone.
Yeah, that's going to be a more difficult one to hit. AJ has hit Mirror Match so many times. I'm guessing the one time it's now available to you, you're not going to be able to get those kills.
Well, I'm just going to transform into Thor and automatic speed buff.
Okay, or you're going to ult into Kumbhakana and ult him and do stuff.
Oh yeah, I did that once, didn't I?
You did that once. You did it with a Neef as well. Same game.
I didn't even mean to transform into Neef. I just did it anyway. But that's sidetracking. We don't have time for sidetracking. We're going on to the client updates.
Okay, client updates. So we have a few things returning and a few things, changing. The thing that we all are rejoicing that returns is the T-Screen. The T-Screen is back.
It's not back in the same way that people wanted it to be back. It doesn't show the golden experience graphs anymore. It's because that just gave too much information to the teams available without having to buy wards. Like, if the enemy team took a Gold Fury, you could see the dip in the graph and just say, oh, they did Gold Fury. Yeah,
it makes sense to remove that functionality from the T-Screen. Like Adrian said, it did give far too much to you. You didn't need to ward Gold Fury. Well, if you wanted to know if you wanted to take it, you needed to ward it. But in general, you didn't need to ward it to know that the enemy team had taken it.
Yeah, but T-Screen does show top kills, top gold, top damage, and top mitigated as a new stat as well, so you can see if your tanks are actually doing their job. And additionally, the screen serves as a new goal as a combat log. Give you at any point that displays recent damage dealt or taken and the damage that led up to your death.
And along with those changes, we do have the Mastery features, which after rank 10, players will begin to unlock bonus stars for every 1,000 worshippers obtained, and these will go around your loading frame when you're loading in, and it has no cap. And apparently this says some guy is going to have 40 stars. So one guy has played a god to 40,000 worshippers. What?
Yeah, I remember them saying a ridiculous stat as well that when they launched the game, like when it went from beta to actual launch, that somebody had played Agni for 98% of their games.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wow. Okay. There's nothing you can say about playing Agni that much.
No.
That guy must love Agni. Crazy.
He's a cool god. He's a cool god.
Yeah. And as well, we do have, following on from the mastery features, we do have those diamond mastery rewards. Now all players will have a diamond count, and players who receive rank 10 or multiple gods will unlock new recall effects, and which get more impressive as your diamond count gets higher, and that's something we mentioned earlier on. But now, the Season 3 ranked rewards for doing what you do, which we've mentioned before we've
already talked about this. We could skip all the way down to the ranked updates.
Okay, let's skip it. 4. Skip it to rank 4. Rank 4? Season 4. Goddamn. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know.
I'll take over. The Season 4 ranked update. All ranked MMR values have been hard reset. Everyone will begin the season at the same MMR value. In subsequent seasons, which happen corresponding to SPL splits, they'll do a soft reset instead.
Yeah, we've done an update qualifying as well, which means that it will try and put you in better than before. The downside is it can put you into very high placements.
So before there was a cap of Gold 1. That's the highest you could get after qualifying, and then you'd have to play from Gold 1 all the way up to Diamond if you're a Diamond player. Now, there's going to be no cap, so if you are somebody who really should be in Diamond 3, it will most likely drop you off in Platinum 1, Diamond 5 area, and you have to play up from there.
That's the annoying thing, though, isn't it? Because that was a big issue a lot of people had, that we don't want people to be able to win. Okay, say you get carried for half of those qualifying games, but you still win 10 of them. They don't, like, people who are top tier don't want people who've only played 10 ranked matches in their Diamond tier. With understandable reasons.
It's understandable, but this is what happens when you do have this hard reset of MMR and everybody gets put to the same level. It's going to take a couple months before people balance out to where they realistically should be.
Yeah. So if you I'd recommend, if you're like me and you want to be able to qualify properly, I'd hold out for a little bit, let all the hardcore people do their thing, and then you'll be able to find a much more accurate representation of where you belong.
So yeah, as mentioned before, multiple splits. It corresponds with the SPL season, and they'll do soft resets in between splits there as well. Promotion games have been removed, so instead of having to go to 100 tribute points and then play another game to qualify up to the next promotion rank, if you get over 100 points, you're simply promoted.
Yep, and it's straightforward. A lot of people were having a huge issue in getting out of tiers, where if you get ranked to 100, you're going to try and promote, you lose, so you lose a ton of TP. You win again, you get put to your promotion, you lose a ton of TP. You win again, and some people got stuck in that cycle, and it just wasn't properly fair on them. So removing those having to get those wins has helped them out a lot. It also makes it so if you have 108 points when you win that final match, taking you over the 100, you'll have 8 points in the new division.
Yep, and if you are promoted, you will have a couple of games. That doesn't really specify as of yet how many it's going to be. It might be depending on how many tribute points you've gotten on many different factors. But you will have protection from being immediately demoted for a few games.
Which, again, is a very good thing.
Lobby timers are updated. You will now have a bank time, which you can use at any point in your pick and ban phase to get extra time for the picks and bans. And you can add to it by selecting your picks and bans quicker, and that just builds up time in the bank.
Okay, so it's going to be interesting to see how that comes about. If you're having a very hard time deciding on who to ban based on your opponent's team comp, you've got that extra time if you need to discuss with your team. Good change. Good change.
Good change. And a change which has been met with some concern, but mostly positive praise, has been the ranked pause. You can now pause during ranked games. You need to start a vote, and if the vote passes, game will automatically pause once everyone is out of combat, and the pause will last for 1 minute. You can only do this once per team per game.
Yeah, I think the issue a lot of people have is that there are still some issues loading into the game, but you get the chance to pause to do that. The downside is you've used up your pause the entire time. The next concern is you're going to have it's similar to a surrender vote, isn't it, as well? So that if you've got enough people who are getting annoyed, you can stop that. The big issue I have is it's F5.
Yes.
So if you are fat-fingered, you may accidentally press F6 and surrender your game.
Well, if you press F5, the person who starts up the pause vote will either F5 to say yes or F6 to say no.
That seems weird to me.
It's very weird, but we'll see how it goes out.
Honestly, I would have changed it to something like F10 or something to start it, but that's a thing. They may change it at some point. It may cause issues. You never know. We'll just see it in the future.
Yeah, we will do. And leaderboards, small changes here. Grandmasters is still Grandmasters, but it's now only the top 25 players. And Masters is back as his own separate division as well, above Diamond 1.
There is a big question among a lot of the pros at the moment about whether that's the top 25 people in the world or whether each region will get their own Grandmasters. So you'll have an Oceanic, EU, NA, those various regions. Because 25 players for the entire world, that is going to be an interesting one when it comes to matchmaking.
It's top 25 players from the world is what they said on stream and said on Twitter later. I can see why they've done it with the rewards that they're giving out at the end of each split, but I would like to have seen it still been the 100 players.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got enough regions for the servers and stuff, I'd recommend just something higher than 25 because that's just... It doesn't feel like enough. Sure, they're the best players in the world, but it doesn't feel like there's enough people in there yet. Carrying on from that, we do have God leaderboards. And this has caused a bit of a stir in the community in general. Players will now be able to see how they compare against other players when playing a specific god. After 5 qualifying games with a god, you'll be placed on the god leaderboard and will be able to see your stand up against other players. And depending on your placement, you'll be placed into one of 3 tiers. And this will appear around you in the lobby once you've selected a character you are ranked with. So prepare to see a lot of unusual picks in ranked games because people want to be top for that god.
People aren't going to deviate from the ones that they want to pick, and I can see at the beginning some people leaving lobbies if the god that they want to play gets banned. So Hi-Rez have to really think hard about if these get rewarded or not. Because if they do, and they get rewarded substantially, it will cause a lot of frustration amongst ranked players, and if they don't give anything for the players, then this is a useless feature in my eyes.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing to see what they do with rewarding this. You've got to balance it, really. You can't have people playing unviable picks just because they want to get something for that god. We can't really say much more because we don't know what the rewards are going to be. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, though. And it's an odd one. It's an interesting one, but it's definitely going to need to be thought about hard before they implement it.
And the ranked rewards, as I did allude to before, for the Grandmasters players will also be put out every single split. Top 5 players in Grandmasters receive 3,500 gems, top 6 to 20 will receive 2,500, and top 21 to 25 will receive 1,500. And it looks like they are going to give top 3 for any god some gems as well.
Yep, 800 gems for those of you who are first, 400 for second, and 200 for third. So a small incentive there. So, I don't know, you may see some, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a terrible god. Give me an example here, AJ. Maybe
Aphrodite.
Yeah, or of Amana.
No, Amana's decent.
He's not too bad. But it actually is a separate thing as well for ranked rewards as well. For each split, there will be a reward for anyone playing ranked. So qualifying, you'll get a chest roll. Winning 25 games will give you a special recall effects.
Oh, that's something I didn't even know that they even said on stream. This just popped up at the patch notes.
It just popped up in the patch notes. It happens with a lot of things, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
You're watching it and you're like, oh, we didn't mention that.
Well, to be fair, they had a lot of stuff to go through today, and we're about a fifth of the way through today's notes.
We're barely getting through. There is a final change as well, and that's going to be intelligent matchmaking of low population regions. So during low population times, the matchmaking algorithm will look for players outside of the preferred region and take ping into consideration, and this will only occur when no match can be found due to low population. So, if you're oceanic and you're playing at an awkward time, you're probably going to get bumped into the American or Asian servers.
Yeah, it's going to only happen very late at night for those regions, which will probably be about... If you're an Asian player and it's late at night and you're low population and it can't find you a match in Oceania, it will bring you over to Europe during probably the peak times of Europe.
So, I mean, it does say it takes ping into account. But just bear in mind that if you're playing at an unusual time, your match quality is probably going to change. So, just something to bear in mind. But now, moving on to the season ticket, which we mentioned before, but we do get a various number of rewards. AJ, why don't you take us through these?
I'm going to quickly blast through these because we have said them before. So, unlock by purchasing the ticket, you get the Nemesis skin, ability to vote on games for fantasy points, permanent fantasy points booster, 15 team worshipper bonus. In the match lobby, players can activate these boosters and share the benefits of the booster to this team. This worshipper booster will give everyone on your team 2 times worshippers that game. A bundle of quests that will give up to 1500 FP. Unlock through the fantasy points unlocks free to all players. The cutesy chest, enigma chest rolls, season tickets, recall effects, loading frame, enigma chest roll, and dying chest roll. Cutesy global. That's a cutest, but that's meant to say.
It's
cutesy.
meant to say cutesy global emote. Yeah.
Cutesy global emote. Never kick announcer pack, which is something everybody really wanted to. Enigma chest roll, which they already put up above. So thank you, Hi-Rez, for putting it in there twice. Everyone needed to know that. And the Swarm Sentry Amuzin Carb, which is basically the yellow hornet from Ant-Man.
And it looks even more awesome than the previous one.
So yeah, if you need to quickly pause the video and go and have a check about what's in all those chests, go ahead and do so. But otherwise, we're continuing on to the Clash map update.
Oh yeah, so the Clash map has had a completely new art style put on it. It is now an Egyptian-themed map. The previous Egyptian map was Domination, which sadly is no longer with us. Hashtag bring back Domination. It has new Titans, new Minions, new Towers, new Phoenixes, and it's had a slight layout change, which has a widened center area, new paths to the center area, and the outer paths in general have been adjusted. And that widened center area now has a brand new thing sitting in it.
It's called Apophis, and it's a jungle boss akin to that of the Fire Giant. I am so excited to actually be playing against this because I've done it on PTS a few times, and the buffs that it gives is a very interesting buff. What it does is it grants bonus magical power and physical power, a la the Fire Giant would do. But enemy gods hit by your abilities take damage equal to a fraction of their max health over 4 seconds.
Wait, is that like a free?
It's like a free Soul Reaver.
What? What?
Okay, so at the very first few spawns of Apophis, I believe the max HP value was 2%. But once it gets enhanced, because they are doing enhanced buffs as well, if they got taken a fair few times,
yeah,
it goes up to 4%.
That's actually ridiculous. Is that per tick, and does it have a cooldown?
I believe it's once per ability.
Okay, so you can't put a Poseidon Whirlpool down and each tick get 4% of their health.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen, and they might have adjusted the values. Remember, this was back on the 3.25 PTS that those values held true.
Okay, so it's going to be interesting to play that though. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
He looks so cool, Apophis. He's just he's hulking in the middle there, like sneaking out. There are a couple of gameplay changes to the map as well. We've got some new jungle camps. So you've got new characters for the red buff and the blue buff. You've got new Phoenixes, which are like Sphinxes just standing there firing their laser eyes. And there have been some kill bounty changes, apparently. For experience, you get an additional 20% experience based on the level difference.
Yeah, this is just to help teams get back into the game. Because it was very difficult against a team that was ahead in Clash to get back in through experience, because if you get a kill on them, it didn't feel rewarding, and this change will allow you to get some momentum back from them.
Yep, so there you go. So now Clash is a little bit more, it's not quite as snowbally, but it'll be, we have to wait and see and how that actually plays out. But now, we've finished Clash, we're moving on to the meat and potatoes of this show. And that is the Season 4 Conquest map update. So
before we do that, aren't we going to go to a 10-minute break?
Are we going to a 10-minute break? Why do you want to go for a 10-minute? Oh, I get it. Okay. Hey! Shots fired. Pew pew. No, we're not going to go for a break, guys. Don't worry. That's a shot at what Hi-Rez did for that show. And we're going to go straight into the Season 4 Conquest map update, which is the first part of the relevant Conquest changes. And so, AJ, do you want to get us started with the map changes?
Alright, so there are small adjustments to the pathing over at the Chaos side red and Order side speed buff, simply just to allow the mid laners to get to those buffs at equal times from the mid lane. And you can no longer see into those camps from the mid lane as well to just quickly check if they're doing the buff or not. So it promotes more invasiveness if you want to try and invade, but it also means that it's more dangerous to try and invade those buffs.
I'm looking at the map right now. And I still think Order gets a little bit shafted for mid.
Yeah, it's because for those of you that do have the map up, there's a little lip on the wall that's touching the lane on the left-hand side, and that lip there really means they have to walk around the map, whilst on the Chaos side, you just simply walk into lane.
Just stroll in. And this seems to be an issue that Hi-Rez have always had with the Order side of a map. The Order side has always got to take that slightly longer route from red to get into the mid lane. And it doesn't seem like much, but it can make the difference between hitting a level or not, or missing out on some gold to get an item. So, they keep saying they keep changing the map to make it more fair, but Order always seems to be shafted a little bit.
I think the changes that they are doing now, I haven't really tested them on PTS so much yet, but from what I could see so far, it really actually does help, and they've almost got it spot on.
Okay. I mean, I've not played the PTS yet. I've been meaning to. I'm thinking about doing it this weekend, but I don't know if I want to see hell.
I mean, we're going to get onto it a lot later.
Yeah, we've got ages before then. There is something you may notice if you're looking at the map as well. It does feel a little bit more cluttered, but we'll get into the reasons for what all these new symbols and things mean as we go through. So there are going to be a few gameplay changes in general. The game start changes are involved now. The game starts at -130, minions spawn at 0, and then the entire jungle spawns at 30 seconds. Before you're so that now means the jungles spawn just as the minions are colliding.
Yep, that means it's very difficult to have a actual set strategy for the start. There's 2 minutes right now where you can't take experience apart from killing them. You can't get an advantage apart from killing them. And the map layout now, and with the camps and the way minions and experience have changed, it's not worth to go for the kill, because if you die, you're out of the game.
Yeah.
So there's 2 minutes of nothingness right now.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how people start off the games, because there's a lot there's a lot we can do now to change how we start the match. But I honestly think it's probably still going to be similar to having the jungle start, I reckon, but that's just me. There have been some kill bounty changes as well. For experience, you get an additional 10% experience based on the level difference, which is 10% base experience times level difference. So it's trying to curb the snowballing a little bit, but again, we'll see how that works in the grand scheme of things.
Well, it's not to curb snowballing, it's to help you gain pace with the snowball.
Yeah. Okay.
But jungle changes with the minion changes as well. There's quite a few things been changed around the jungle aspect, as well as the experience given to you in lane. Experience has decreased across the board. 15 less experience per swordsman, 5 per archer, and 5 per brute. So sharing
sure
ways
it's
to become...
15.
That's another fight.
65 to 60. It's 5, 5, and 5.
Okay, so each wave you are now losing 30 experience from what it would be in Season 3. I mean, it gets less beneficial these days to split the wave with 2 or 3 people. which is sort of like the changes that they've got here are trying to aim towards. They're trying to take the focus away from 3-man groups in mid consistently.
Yeah, that was a thing we saw a lot throughout Season 3, especially at Worlds, where you'd see a lot of the grouping around mid, or there'd be a lot of invades. The support would never be on solo, on AD, on the duo lane, and would always be somewhere else, and the fight would always be in mid or solo. So I think they're trying to curb that down. To help go along with that, though, they have changed some of the Conquest jungle. So they've fixed an issue where the jungle wants a HP scaled at double the scaling rate while dead. Is that a thing? Really? I never noticed that.
Yeah, if you consistently took a camp and you didn't take the other counterpart to it. So if I'm playing on the Order side and I took the Order speed buff 7 times, and you were on the Chaos side and you took it 4 times, my one would be harder to kill. To the point where it was actually more beneficial for me to go into your jungle, take your speed buff, because it would be quicker than killing my own one.
I never noticed that. That probably explains a few things. So I never noticed that. But there have been a few other changes, though. So we have got boars, which we got to say this now. Rip boars. Press F to
bacon is gone again.
No more bacon. They have been removed from the Conquest map. The Harpies have changed slightly. They've had their XP value increased by 15 from 30 to 45. The gold increased from 13 to 28. Their health has been decreased from 425 to 375. And the health per minute increased from 25 to 50.
And this ties into the Elder Harpy as well, who's had a massive nerf. The experience value has decreased from 110 to 55. Gold value has decreased from 45 to 38. Base health value decreased from 550 to 470, and health per minute increased from 30 to 70. If you know that the back harpies, they're consistent of 2 regular harpies and 1 elder harpy, whilst mid camps are consisting of 2 elder harpies. It is now more beneficial to do the back harpies than mid harpies.
Yeah, I think again they're trying to pull away the focus from mid lane, aren't they? So lowering the value of the elder the 4 elder harpies in mid, and increasing the value of the 6 back harpies. So you may see less fighting around mid now, possibly. You never know. You never know what players are going to do. They always break your game.
Well, I think we're going to see some more fighting around the people who pick up the newest buff into the game, and that's going to be the Cyclops Rogue, which gives a new purple buff, which reduces protections in an aura.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. It's enemy gods within 55 units have their magical and physical protections reduced. Now, if you remember before when we had purple buff, a different iteration of purple buff, you had, was it extra attack speed?
Yeah, it was attack speed and extra basic attack damage.
Yeah, so that was something that your ADC would definitely pick up. This one, it's probably more beneficial to let your support take it.
Definitely, if you have somebody who's an aggressive support, like an Ares or a Bacchus or a Sobek, they're going to want to pick this one up and just be around as many enemies as possible to get the maximum benefit from it. Because 10 protections early on, that's a significant portion of your protections at that point.
That is a lot of your protections early on. Something else to bear in mind, though, for those of you who are wanting to play Ares, remember that his passive says, for each complete item. The buff does not increase his damage based on his passive.
No, but it increases his damage by the fact that they have 10 less protections.
Oh, it does. It really does. Let's just quickly go through the Cyclops Rogue stats. The XP value is 160. The gold is the gold is 60. The base health is 790. The health per minute is 150. So there you go.
And just a small note that those values are going to be the same for the damage speed and mana Cyclops as well. And the Cyclops Rogue Small, i.e. the 2 mini ones that go with it, they're also going to have 40 experience, 20 gold, 90 base health, and 90 per minute. Again, the same as the damage speed and mana mini Cyclopses.
Yeah, so the other changes here are, damage speed and mana, we've already gone through those. The fire elementals have been changed. They've had their base health decreased from 180 to 100, and they've had their health per minute increased from 40 to 80.
Yep, another change that just tries to stop it becoming incredibly tanky through taking it consistently. But instead of having 3 fire elementals, you're going to have 2 fire elementals and an elder elemental, and this is a very weird change considering they wanted to take the focus away from mid lane. They're now putting it on the fire jam because this elder elemental plus 2 fire elementals means this is probably the best contestable buff in the early game. That's not like the ward harpies, which you're going to get onto later.
Yep. The value for these as well, we've got 105 experience, 46 gold, 760 base health, and 165 health per minute. So it's gonna be, you're gonna see a bit more fights over these ones, I feel now.
Yeah, it's more beneficial now to have an aggressive mid and aggressive solo laner, more so than an aggressive duo lane. Just because this new elemental spawn that they've got with 2 fire elementals and 1 elder one means that the camp has a lot more experience tied to it, and it's still at its original spawn rate, which was once every 140 seconds or so.
Yeah, so you're going to see a bit more fighting. Bear in mind that there are some changes later on as well that will change quite drastically which characters you see in the AD role. But we'll go through those when they come. Next up, we've got another new camp, the Oracle Harpy camp.
Yeah, like I just said before, this one will provide vision on the Gold Fury when killed. You have to kill both of them to get this ward, though. If you kill one and the enemy kills one, nobody gets anything. The ward that it drops will last for 90 seconds, i.e. half the time a normal ward would last for. Cannot be countered by sentries, and it does not reveal wards nor stealth units.
Yeah, so you can't use it to spot a Loki, bloody Loki.
No.
The Oracle Harpies do have, so as I just said, there are 2 in there. They have 85 experience, 42 gold, because that's the meaning of life, universe, and everything. 760 base health, and we will gain 165 health per minute. They spawn at the 30-second mark. They take 3 minutes to respawn, and the reward is, just as I just said, a sentry ward, essentially. So
it's not the biggest camp in the map right now in terms of the experience in gold. It's far from it, but it gives you that vision on the Gold Fury for 90 seconds, which cannot be counted. It means I see this more as a defensive taking rather than an offensive one, because you can't counter enemy sentries with it.
No.
So instead you're going to take it if you think the enemy team might be looking for a Gold Fury, and whilst they're doing it, they can't get rid of the vision which has been placed down.
Yeah, I mean, the worth in this isn't the gold. You don't care about the gold at this point. You want that vision. You want the free vision for 90 seconds, and that is going to be more powerful than the gold in my eyes, because you're going to spend, 120 for a sentry ward? Or you can get this and gain some gold and get a sentry ward on the Gold Fury for free.
It's not a sentry ward, it's a regular ward.
Oh, well, you know what I mean. You're going to get a ward. Okay, 50 gold for a ward. But it can't be counted, so you don't need to worry about a sentry ward.
Yeah, but as much as the Gold Fury does get some love with 2 new little things to play with, the Portal Demon over on the Fire Giant side is looking at the Fire Giant very menacingly.
It's a very angry demon, isn't it?
Yes.
So, I'm not going to let you do anything. Nah.
I mean, it sort of does look like the Elder Elemental in a way, but instead of getting just some golden experience when you kill it, it does what it says on the tin, gives you a portal from your base to essentially the wall out on the opposite side of the Fire Giant.
It does. So when you kill a Portal Demon, it gives you a portal which lasts for 1 minute. So you killed the demon thing, and then you go back to base, and you've got 1 minute to get yourself properly set up for that fight at Fire Giant.
Yep, it spawns at 10 minutes in, so when the Fire Elementals go away, this will spawn, and it respawns every 5 minutes after taking it. Has some golden experience with it as well. 100 XP, that's team, by the way. 150 team gold, 2,500 health, and 410 health per minute. It's not a camp you can take by yourself. You certainly have to have a couple people around to take it, unless you're like a late game hunter or mage, which you probably could take it by yourself. But it's one that does give a good team benefit to you.
Yeah, it's a very powerful buff. I mean, it only lasts for 1 minute. But that 1 minute can mean the difference between you taking or losing Fire Giant to the enemy team. So you're gonna see a lot of fights breaking out around this after the 10-minute mark, just because people want that mobility for what it takes. It's there for 1 minute, but respawns in 5 minutes. So if you don't capitalize on it, you've basically wasted your chance.
Well, I don't think we're going to see too many fights around that side of the map when the Gold Fury has been changed to increase its base reward. It still keeps the same cap of 350. But its base reward from when it spawns has been increased, as we're going to go on to Gold Fury changes.
Yep, so as we said, the Gold Fury the Gold Fury reward has increased. The starting gold has been increased from 150 to 190. They have decreased the gold reward per minute, however, from 10 to 8. base health has been decreased from 2700 to 2200, and the health per minute has increased from 216 to 380.
This has incentivized a lot of snowball on the PTS because of how much team gold and team experience that this does give for the amount of HP that it currently has. And it takes almost no effort to kill it early on these days, and it gives 190 gold from minute 1, which is absolutely insane. If you're not controlling the Gold Fury from the get-go, you're going to suffer a horrible time if they take it.
Yeah, Gold Fury does spawn at 0, doesn't she? Or about 30?
It spawns 5 seconds in.
So, could we see a resurgence of Arachne?
Potentially. I mean, when I've been playing Arachne, I go Bombers into Boots into Wakefile, and then I just solo Gold Fury by myself because Arachne's balanced. Well, Venomous Fight's balanced, to be fair. But yeah, she could potentially come back. I don't know if the values are low enough for her to solo in at level 1.
No, but
she definitely need a team.
But do you remember ages ago when Arachne was a beast, where at the start of the game, if the enemy team had an Arachne, you were going to Gold Fury, because if you didn't get to the Gold Fury by a certain point, they would have taken the Gold Fury for free at like 0 minutes. So
that's because Arachne could spawn 10 spiders at minute 1.
It was amazing. But I think now, with the fact that she can still spawn some things, it's going to be pretty cool to see, like, now that the Gold Fury is worth a little bit more at the start, I'm going to be interested to see if people are going to prioritize it a bit more early on.
Definitely will be a objective to fight over once more, and as the Gold Fury gets some changes, the Fire Giant does get some changes as well. It's just a small change to coincide with their buffs, which they gave up above, where they said that it was gaining HP at twice the rate when it was dead.
Yep.
So it now spawns with 3,750 HP, and its health per minute has been increased to 520. So its base health is 3,750. When it spawns, it will spawn with the same amount of HP it always has done.
Yes. That's something that a fair number of people in the community haven't actually realised, that the 3750 doesn't mean when he spawns in after, 10 minutes, that he's going to have 3750. He's still going to have the initial starting amount, which he used to have. He's not going to be a stupidly easy Fire Giant at 10 minutes.
And if it was, then Anubis and Isis would be probably the top 2 mids in the game because they could take the Fire Giant by themselves.
Oh, well, let's not discuss Anubis yet, because he's going to see a resurgence in this patch, but we're not there yet. We are now hitting the Season 4 consumables updates. So we've got some new consumables and some changes to some other ones, haven't we?
Consumables, these new ones are called rituals. They're brand new. Only usable after level 10, only 1 use per purchase, and they provide a single use relic or ability-like effect. Group of potions of might and elixirs on the new late game consumables tab, and there's 4 of them. So we're going to go through them one by one. The Flickering Ritual, 750 gold. It's Combat Blink, and it's back.
It is Combat Blink. So when activated, teleports you to a ground target location up to 55 units away instantly. Can be used during combat. We used to see some gods pick up Combat Blink when it was a thing as an active, and you'd see gods like Anubis who are pretty unsafe. They would be using as a get out of jail free card. Now it's 750 gold, not an active, and I reckon we're going to see this being used a fair amount because there's no punishment for it now.
Yeah, before the punishment was the cooldown was 240 seconds, or something as
I think it was 240 seconds. Yeah.
So if you were forced to use it in one fight, you wouldn't have it up for the next 2. With this one, you could just buy another one.
Yep, and especially at a really late game, like when you've got so far in, I think these rituals are going to be a much more attractive option than the pots. But speaking of multiple rituals, we do have another one, Frenzied Ritual, which is again 750 gold. When activated, it buffs all allies within 55 units of the user, increasing their damage output by 25% on all targets, and increasing attack speed by 20% for 10 seconds.
It's Frenzy 2.0, and it's now 750 gold. Does not take up a relic slot, meaning you can still get your sprints, you can still get your meditations, you can still get your shells, whatever you so wish. and then get Frenzy into the late game, which is going to be scary. But for 750 gold, it's no longer, I've just used it, oh well, we can wait till it's back up again. It's, I've used it, we have to go in now.
We're going in, boys. We're going in. We're going in hard. You press the gas pedal and go in. That's what you do. What's the thing? Yeah, speaking of gas pedal, we do have Rallying Ritual as well, which is, again, 750 gold. I think we're seeing a pattern here. And when activated, it teleports you to the allied god of your choice. And it can be interrupted, however, by hard CC, and if you are interrupted, you have lost that ritual. Now, those of you who have been playing the game for quite some time may recognise this ability in form of Teleport to Gods.
Again, one that it actually costs 1,100 gold when it was in the game, rather than the 900 that old actives used to cost, which really put it out of most people's builds. And the fact that it had such a long cooldown, again, 240 seconds, meant it was never picked up. So he removed it from the game. But now they're bringing it back as a ritual for 750 gold. I could see this being used a couple times, especially by teams that are looking to backdoor in the game incredibly quickly.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, I used to pick up Teleport to Gods every now and then, because it was just useful in certain situations. If something big was going down, you'd be able to teleport in, and then you'd be fair in the fight. You wouldn't need a ward, you wouldn't need a tower, and it would just work. Now you've got it as a consumable, I can see this being used a lot more than Teleport to Gods was.
Definitely. But there is also one last ritual, and that's going to be the Revealing Ritual, which is, again, 750 gold. When activated, provides your entire team with vision of the entire enemy team, revealing their locations on the map, and also reveals all enemy wards within 70 units of the user, lasts for 5 seconds. So if you're having troubles keeping track of where enemies are, or your vision's quite low and you want to try and push yourselves back into contention for the Fire Giant, this will allow you to do that.
Or you're attempting Fire Giant.
But yeah, you could use this to sneak a Fire Giant, definitely.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's essentially a new War Ultimate without the damage. Pretty much. I think it's going to see a fair amount of use. We're going to see some people pick this up just because it's very good when you want to try and do something, regardless of if it's a Gold Fury or a Fire Giant. If you want to know where your opponents are, pick this up. It will let you know whether it's safe or not. The question here, which it isn't clear about, is whether a god that's stealthed will appear on the map.
It says entire enemy team, so I'd imagine so, because whenever you use Fire Shards as a new one, the tooltip also said to reveal the entire enemy team, and you do see stealth units. Okay,
so we will be able to see gods like Loki, El Kwang, and Sir Ket, and Morrigan. There you go, for want of stuff. So that's Revealing Ritual for you guys. I think we're going to see all 4 of these make an appearance in the pro scene and in the casual scene, so be prepared to pick those up. Then we've got some new consumables, proper consumables this time, otherwise known as chalices.
So they work like a stack of potions. Duration is refreshed, not stacked upon multiple uses. They have specific number of charges. The healing and mana chalices have 3. The chalice of the Oracle has 2. They can be found grouped with normal wards regeneration potions, and every single time you go back to the base, it refreshes it up to back to max stacks.
Yep, something you need to bear in mind when you get these is selling them doesn't yield anything, however. So you will be paying about 300 gold for each of these, but if you have they've served their purpose and you want to carry on with the game later on, you sell them, you will not receive any compensation for getting rid of them. But considering the strength of them, I'd say it's worth it, regardless.
It depends. It's certain situations, yes. Certain situations, no, because it takes up that consumable slot, which you don't have for a ritual. You don't have for wards as well. So you have to think very carefully about these.
I'd say early on, one of them is going to see a lot of use on a support, especially. So let's quickly go through what they are. The first one is the Chalice of Healing. 300 gold, stacks of 3, and it heals 250 health over 25 seconds per use. So it's essentially a stack of health potions.
Yep, Chalice of Mana is similar to Chalice of Healing, but it heals 150 mana over 25 seconds per use, i.e. a mana potion. And then Chalice of the Oracle allows you to place a ward on use, but it has 2 stacks max.
I reckon Chalice of the Oracle is going to see a fair amount of use on supports.
I don't think so.
Do you not?
No, because you can get it, you can use it for a ward, but you would much rather have Sentry Wards and then use for some other different things. Like you could get some more potions, you could potentially even get an early ritual to then burst through a different objective. And getting this chalice might not allow you to do that.
Although, if you're saying about getting getting rituals earlier on, don't forget you can only get those at level 10, and supports are generally quite far behind. So, something that could happen, you never know. One of us is going to be right here. So, which one is it going to be? Place your comments down below and let us know. Send us a message on Twitter. Hashtag AJ's right, hashtag Dark's right. Okay, so we do have a couple other changes to consumables. These are the last two consumable changes. And if anything, they are pretty hefty buffs for these two that are involved. And that's the Potion of Magical Might and the Potion of Physical Might, Purple Pot and Red Pot, are going to have their duration increased from 3 to 5 minutes.
It's just a quality of life change. With the new rituals coming in, with the new chalices, you don't want to have your slot for this potion just taken up. So by freeing it up and putting it back up to 5 minutes, you can use it in base and still get the benefit out of it in combat for the next few fights, rather than just the next one.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people had. They get the potion, they then leave the base, they wouldn't use it, and then a fight would break out, then they'd pop it. Now you actually got a legitimate reason to pop it before you leave the base. So, based on what has happened with the new consumables, we are seeing some relic changes. We've got some new relics, we have some relics being removed for various reasons, and we have some changes. So, essentially, relics can now be upgraded, is one of the base things. You start with a relic and you spend 500 gold, and you can upgrade the relic anytime you're at base.
Yep, and this is sort of akin to what actives used to be, where you purchased it for 300 gold, could upgrade it for another 300 gold, and then upgrade it to tier 3 for the final 300 gold, i.e. 900 gold cost total. This puts a bit more emphasis on spending wisely back at the base, because if you upgrade it at the wrong time, or you wait too long to upgrade it, you could cost yourself a fight, or maybe even the game through it.
Okay, so first let's go through what has been removed, and the two that have been removed are Frenzy and Scout, because they have been properly full-blown replaced by a Ritual and a Chalice. So you're not going to see those in-game anymore, they are now in the consumable slot. And we do have some changes as well. That's a lot of changes, holy crap. Okay, so first up with the changed relics is the Aegis Amulet, which was previously known as Sanctuary. So those of us who've been here for a while can now call it Aegis again. That's nice. That's nice.
Yep, and the casters who have just gotten used to calling it Sanctuary, like myself, we're going to have to go back used to Aegis. Yep. If you do upgrade it for 500 gold, its cooldown will decrease to 130 seconds rather than its original 160 seconds.
Yeah. Aegis is hated in general.
Yep.
130 second cooldown Aegis can naff off.
Hey, remember the good old days when it was 90 seconds?
Oh no. Hey, that's a nice Kraken you got there. Oh, I've Aegised it. Yeah, but that's a very nice thing. Remember, that does cost you a 500 gold upgrade to your Aegis Amulet, but 160 seconds and 130 seconds, pretty standard. The next one is the Blink Rune, which was previously known as Blink. Can now be upgraded, and it decreases the cooldown from 120 to 90. We have seen this before in the form of Blink ages ago.
Don't know if it's going to make a return as a relic slot that's needed for junglers or supports. I could see a couple of gods who used to buy it, who then previously bought like Sprint or Shells, now pick up this Blink Rune up now as an alternative, rather than as you must buy this, otherwise you're killing yourself.
Yeah, I think we're going to see gods like Ares, Emir, and Kumbhakana pick this up a fair amount. Their kit is pretty good at you blink in, you get someone CC'd, or your Ares, you pull someone, you mez someone, you ult someone. I think we're going to see a fair amount more use on some of them, but other gods aren't really going to pick it up because they never picked it up anyway.
Moving on to the next one, which is the Cursed Ankh. It was previously known as Curse. And what they've done is, in Season 4, they want to focus on each relic's most unique element.
Yeah.
Curse is getting rid of its slow, and instead is getting a slight buff to its healing reduction.
So the healing reduction was 5 seconds. It's now going up to 10 seconds. It had its slow movement, as AJ said. That's the only real change. But something to bear in mind is you can upgrade this one now for 500 gold, which increases the healing reduction from 50% to 65% and increases the duration from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. That is a long time with no healing.
If you're against a healing-centric comp, getting this relic and getting it upgraded as soon as possible is a must-have. Otherwise, you're just really limiting the ability to fight into it. And 15 seconds with 65% reduced healing, if you slap a Pestilence on yourself as well as the support, that's 90% reduced healing.
Or if you're a Changa, that's 100% reduced healing, pretty much. So that's a lot of reduced healing. And whether you'll see this picked up a lot in Season 4, I'm not sure. You will find out why I'm saying that when we get later through the patch notes, and you will understand exactly why I'm saying that from that point. But now let's go back to the relics, and that next one is a Hand of the Gods, previously known as Wrath.
Yep, it's having its name changed once more. The second of 3 that's having its name changed back to the old version because people couldn't get used to the new names of it, and it was still colloquially known as Hand of the Gods, or Hog for short.
Yeah.
Before it was doing 480 damage to a single creep, and it would do it to the highest health creep available. Now it's going to deal 300 plus 10 per level to a single enemy minion or jungle monster.
Yeah, so you can do about at level 20, that's 500 damage, isn't it? So you can do 500 damage to a single enemy, single minion or jungle monster within 12 units. And as we are used to at this point, it will be the one with the highest HP. The relic's cooldown will be reduced, however, by 30 seconds if you kill a jungle mob with it. And the biggest change, it no longer deals damage to the Gold Fury or the Fire Giant.
Or to the Portal Demon now that it's really considered a jungle boss as well, giving team-wide gold.
Yep, so it won't do anything to those. And as you'd expect, this one can be upgraded, and it now also stuns all enemy gods in range, turning it to what used to be Fist of the Gods. Or what is it called now in the Season 3?
I believe it's still called Wrath.
Ah, okay.
But the change to the damage, from what I saw back at World to what I saw from the meta developing after Super Regionals, was that everyone was picking up Wrath, everyone was invading, and there was no two abilities in the game, there were no 3 abilities in the game that combined together at level 1 could do nearly enough damage to compete with Wrath at that time. So by giving it this 300 plus 10 per level damage, now if you grouped up as a 3 taking the jungle camp, you do have the ability to contest with this Hand of the Gods. But it's no longer just Hand of the Gods instantly gets you to camp. You have to be smart with your usage of it.
Yeah. I know that Hand of the Gods, as always, has been a very disliked item, especially by pros, because it does allow you to just invade and go nuts. So we're probably going to see some more of that in this season as well.
Moving on to the next relic, it's going to be Heavenly Wings. Sorry, it's previously known as Sprints, and this one's going to confuse the hell out of most casters. This is the one that's going to trip people up. It now only cleanses slows upon activation and does not provide slow immunity throughout the duration, which is a fantastic change. The next one, though, is horrific when you upgrade it.
Oh my god, we never thought we'd see this again. And the upgrade for 500 gold, if you want to do this, which I don't see why you wouldn't, all allies hit by this effect are immune to the basic attack slow penalty.
There was a reason they removed this.
Oh, I remember so much what this was like before. Ho ho ho!
So if you went around for Season 1, what happened was Hunters got Sprint 3, they then activated Sprint 3 and just ran you down because they were immune to basic attack slow penalty, and then ran back to their team because they were 40% faster than you. And there was nothing you could do to stop them killing a couple people in your backline in the meantime.
I tell you, there's nothing scarier than an Anho running at you throwing spears. Oh, that was terrifying. But it's back, baby. It's back.
I seriously hope that they change this before it goes live, because this might actually become a must pick on every single team.
Oh yeah, and it's actually crazy that they're bringing this back. I honestly can't believe they're bringing it back, considering how much of an issue it caused all these years ago. And bringing it back, it's almost like we've forgotten quite just how strong it was. So
I honestly think that in between season 1 and now, they've brought in an entirely new team for design. Like, everybody who was on in season 1 is no longer there, and it's just a completely new team for season 4. And they've gone, oh yeah, let's bring this back. Let's put this in. This is a good idea.
Oh, they're not saying let's bring this back. Let's put this in. Let's try this.
Yeah.
So they don't remember it's actually happened. So maybe history shall repeat itself, and they'll go, oh no, and remove it, or we'll see it stay in. And I'm not sure which it's going to be. But let's stop ranting about Heavenly Wings then, and let's carry on. We're going to go to Magic Shell, previously known as Shell.
Stupid name change.
Magic Shell is just going to make people think, anyone who's new to the game is going to think Magic Shell will only work on mages, and that is not the case. It does increase base protections. It's had its base protections decreased from 45 to 30. Damage mitigation reduced from 15 to 5.
Shell at level 1 was a really annoying problem for many teams, because it just meant the second that they popped it in the early game, you could not kill them at all.
No.
There was nothing you could do to the tank, who was also built tank boost, because he was taking negative damage.
Yeah, it was pretty strong. Now, to get back to similar to what it was, you're going to have to pay that 500 gold. And that 500 gold will give you an increase of protections from 30 to 45, back to what it was. And the mitigation buff will be increased from 5% to 10%. So overall, we're going to see an overall mitigation reduction of 5% in total.
Yeah, Shell needed a nerf because it was a must-have on every single team at level 1 from your support. If you didn't have it, you were going to get invaded on, you were going to die, and the other team would laugh and say, took all your buffs.
Yep. But that's Magic Shell. But it's not much has changed on the grand scheme. It's been put in a better position overall, making it a little bit easier to deal with in the long term. Moving on, we're going to have Meditation Cloak, previously known as Meditation, because he's the guy's wearing a cloak, I'm guessing. It's going to stay the same as it was, but it can now be upgraded. And your 500 gold will give you the ability to... not give you an ability? It give your allies a buff of 45 MP5 and 15 HP5 for 30 seconds. So if you're playing Assault, you've got no reason to not get this.
And even in Conquest, this is not a significant buff, but it's one that does have the hallmarks of one that could change team fights. Because if you're getting extra healing and extra mana over every 5 seconds, more so than you would before, you could survive some situations where you might have died. It's a very niche change for Conquest. It's more aimed towards, like, as you said, the Assault players.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see if more people pick this up, Meditation Cloak. But I'm liking this little bit of extra little addition to the end of it. And again, as I just said, we could see a fair number of changes in Conquest from it. But now moving on to Phantom Veil. Previously known as Phantom, it's had its visuals changed, it's had its audios changed. The basics attack slow immunity has been removed because, as we know, that is now on sprint for some god unknown reason.
Heavenly Wings.
I don't care, it's sprint free.
It is.
It now applies a 40% CC reduction and immunity to knockups to allies affected by it. What?
Yep, if you're against the CC heavy team or a knockup heavy team, you buy this, you pop it before the fight, and suddenly everybody is near enough immune and impervious to CC and knockups.
Hi, Wheelish.
Yeah, like Awilix, Bacchus, Vulcans, Meatball also will take a massive hit from this.
Yep.
Anybody whose core strategy is to knock up Tyr and Hercules get really heavily countered by this. And what's more, if you upgrade it for the 500 gold, its duration doubles from 5 seconds to 10 seconds.
That's crazy. That is actually crazy. I'm interested, but I think this is good because we're now going to see more people pick it up, and it's more than just there's an Odin.
Yeah, there was a need for this. I think it's still keeping its old effect.
Yeah, I think you can still... They wouldn't call it Phantom Veil if you couldn't go through things. So I'm assuming we've not said they've removed it. So Phantom Veil, much more viable item now, and you won't just pick it up against an Odin. In fact, if you have anyone with a knock-up on an enemy team that's going to be causing you big issues, Phantom Veil is the item to pick up.
Now, Purification beads are next on the list, and they're previously known as Purification, so you have the best of both worlds. You can call it one or the other, and people will know what you're talking about.
Beads, baby.
Does the exact same things before, but if you upgrade it, similar to Sanctuary, it reduces the cooldown by 30 seconds to 130 seconds.
Yep, again, a decent change for 500 gold. Beads are going to be up that a little bit more often. However, still got the same issue against people like Ares, who are going to be ulting you every, 70-odd seconds?
Yep.
But again, it makes it a little bit better for the counter engagement and stuff like that. So, general change. Next up we have Shield of Thorns, previously known as simply Thorns. The damage reflect has been increased from 40% to 50%, and when you upgrade it, the duration increases from 8 seconds and the cooldown decreases to 100 seconds.
Minor changes could make the difference between it never being picked up and it being picked up sometimes. I still see it as being a low-tier relic and ones which we'll see picked up. We'll see other ones picked up above this.
I think there's only one god I can properly think of that would ever use this properly. And back when this item was first introduced in Season 2, I think was it Reflection back then? I can't remember what it's called. The god you'd see using it the most was Hades. He'd pop it and use his ult, and the amount of damage flying out of that was ridiculous.
Well, don't forget, back then it also provided a 100% reduction to lifesteal when you popped it, which is why it was so good. But it doesn't provide that anymore, which means hunters can still actually sustain themselves through that damage.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I actually forgot that it had the lifesteal reduction. So again, Thorn's still pretty underwhelming, but whether we're going to see it picked up more often with these changes is yet to be seen. Next up, we have Sundering Spear. We've got 2 left, guys. Don't worry. I say that.
The new relics.
Shut up. we've got Sundering Spear, previously known as Sunder. Now we can no longer say you've been sundered. It has had its audio updated. It's had its protection and attack speed debuffs removed, and now increases. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Yep. Sorry. Protection and attack speed debuffs removed, and now increases damage taken by the target by 30% for 5 seconds. There we go.
Better change. It makes the spear, it makes Sunder more effective. Before, reducing protections by 30% didn't increase damage by 30%. This is an overall buff to it. And it does more when you upgrade it, because it increases the damage to 60 plus 20 per level, and the cooldown decreases to 100 seconds. This, in Season 4 PTS, has already been a must-buy on pretty much every single team.
I mean, just looking at those numbers, you can see why Sundering Spear is now such a well-liked item. I like those changes. That makes it a lot more viable. Do you reckon we're going to see it too much?
I reckon if these changes go through to live and all the other relic changes still happen, we're going to be seeing Sundering Spear a lot.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing is a big question now.
Depends on if the meta shifts towards a tank meta or if it shifts towards a objective control meta. It's
going to be interesting to see what happens. There's a lot of changes, and we don't know at this point. And it's you never know. We may see a combination. That's going to be interesting to see. And we do have one more change to the normal relics. This one is called Teleport Glyph. Previously known as Teleport, that's what it says on the tin. Increased cooldown from 180 seconds to 200 seconds. But when you upgrade it, the cooldown decreases from 200 seconds to 160 seconds. So overall, a lot of people... Well, you basically saw people picking this up in solo lane almost permanently, didn't we?
When it got to the Smite World Championships, it was between Teleport and Wrath, both of which are now seeing some nerfs just to try and make sure that it's in line with some of the other relics.
Yeah.
And there is a new starter item coming out, which we will get to later on at some point, God help us all, which might actually mean that Teleport might not be worth picking up anymore. But there are 2 new relics, completely new relics to go through, first of which is Horrific Emblem.
It's got a scary face, and it's pretty scary. Using this item slows enemy gods for 55 units by 40%, and also reduces their attack speed by 25%, lasting 5 seconds with a cooldown of 150. When you upgrade it, the cooldown goes down to 120. You may recognize this item.
Yep, it's Enfeebling Curse. It's made its return, and I, for one, am so happy for this. Because we were getting to a point where high attack speeds gods like Freya, Kronos, Jingwei, they were seeing a lot of play. And this will now just bring them back down in line. There's now a relic to effectively counter them. You can slow them, you can reduce their attack speed, and you can then go in for the kill.
Yep. If you remember, we did it with this. They've now had the slow put back in. As you may remember, they have removed it from the curse, and it's now on Horrific Emblem. Before we used to have one or the other, didn't we? We used to have Enfeebling Curse and Weakening Curse. One was anti-heal, essentially, and one was anti-attack speed. Now it's back in. Then we have a very interesting new relic called the Bracer of Undoing. So it's a brand new relic, which it's kind of Aegis and beads, but not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird one. It's essentially, so if you use this item, it subtracts 3 seconds from all abilities currently on cooldown, and restores 50% health and mana lost within the last 3 seconds. And its cooldown is 120 seconds. If you upgrade it, the recent damage time increases from 3 seconds to 5 seconds. It's like a discount Kronos ultimate.
In the sort of way, yes. It doesn't put it back to the exact values, it just restores 50% of them.
Yeah.
Which is a good point of balance, I would say, for this. It's a bit underwhelming right now because it just doesn't put it all the way back up to full, but that would be too broken. There's still a fine point in between there somewhere that they can find during this PTS cycle to make it viable, but not so overpowered that it will become a must-have on pretty much everybody.
But if it looks at it at the moment, just looking at the numbers, it's one of those items which it's a shame because it's as it stands, it's one of those items that's just going to be there and never used. If they can make this a more viable item, as it stands, there are just other relics which do other things so much better than Bracer of Undoing. But PTS, give them some good data. Maybe we'll see the Bracer of Undoing get its numbers tweaked, or maybe it'll be changed up.
But now we're finally on to items themselves and updates. We're not even a god.
It's so long!
Well, it took them 3 hours to go through all these notes, and we're doing it in 1 hour and 20 minutes so far.
Well, a little bit shorter than that, but yeah. Okay, yeah. I've now lost my page on the patch list. Do you want to take us through, AJ? Okay,
so Season 4 item update, blah blah blah, wall of text, wall of text, wall of text. Can now sort the store by crowd control reduction, and then some new stat penetration, which can be found on items available to all gods, and will apply the correct type of penetration to whether they are a magical or physical god. Bluestone Pendant had a small change, decreased mana and added MP5. Small change there. Bumba's Mask had a sizable change to it. Decreased the cost to 500, removed the MP5, added 50 health and mana, increased true damage on basic attacks to 15, increased ability damage on jungle camps from 10% to 15%, removed the gold sharing bonus, but added 4 gold and 25 mana bonus per jungle camp kill, and that's for each individual minion, not camp.
Yeah. The question with that last one is, you have to get that kill, don't you? You have to kill the minion.
I believe you do, yes. So,
right. So
we're going to see junglers isolate themselves a lot more if they do go into Mumba's Mask. It's no longer, oh yeah, just come share this buff with me. No, they will lose a significant portion of the golden experience now.
An interesting thing to bear in mind with the new Bumba's Mask changes, it's the first one of many that we'll see, which is a new tier of starter item. Currently all starter items are 800 gold. Bumba's Mask is a 500 gold one, which means you can pair it with another starter item if you so wish. Something to bear in mind there, we could see some pretty interesting starts. Something else to consider, that last change, the adding 4 gold per camp kill, and removing a load of the general enhancements it gave you, we're going to see, I think, an increase in auto attack junglers again. The interesting thing is it's an improvement to Ao Kuang.
It's an improvement to the late game junglers because they get more damage onto the counter, which means they can clear them quicker and by themselves. And the added golden mana regeneration means that they can start to build up later game items a lot earlier if they are efficient around the jungle.
Yeah. Do we want to see Ao Kuang get stronger?
I mean, he wasn't in a particularly great spot going into the World Championships because of how easy it was to invade. And if the meta stays that way, then they can give him all the late game changes that they want. But because he's still just get invaded on early and lose the game.
Could we see a return of Jungle Loki?
No.
No?
No.
No. Okay. Well, there you have it. Loki's still dead, boys. Thank God. The next item is Death's Toll. Decreased physical power from 15 to 10, increased health from 90 to 100, increased passive heal from 6 to 8, and increased passive mana restore from 2 to 3.
They buffed Death's Toll, what are they doing?
I know, right? I'm glad they lowered the power, though.
Oh yeah, let's get rid of 5 power. Fantastic. Like they were people were really using that extra 5 power for their abilities. No, they weren't. They were using it for the passive effect.
Yeah.
And they've just increased the passive. So if you're Osiris, if you're Erlang Shin, if you're Nike, if you're Bellona, thank God you've now just basically one lane because you're infinite sustain.
Yep. Which means Osiris may see a return, guys. Be careful of that. Next up we have Rangda's Mask, which is 500 gold. As I said, a new sort of start item. With plus 5 HP 5 and a passive. Each time you get an assist, you gain a stack or 2 for a kill. At 8 stacks, this item provides 7% movement speed and 10% cooldown reduction. At 16 stacks, this item provides 15 penetration, 10% movement speed, and 15% cooldown reduction. A big pickup for those gods with a very aggressive start.
You have to get 4 kills to make it somewhat. You have to get 8 kills to make it somewhat worth it.
Yeah.
8 kills to get a decent item.
Yeah. Looking at it like that, I don't think we're going to see it then. We're not going
to see it because its base stats, the ones without any passive whatsoever, makes it legitimately the worst item in the game. Because
plus 5 MP5. Well, I was sitting there thinking, well, maybe Thanatos would use this, but no, because he doesn't care.
He doesn't care about the MP5.
No, he cares more about the passive from getting the kills. But he's not going to get 8. By the time he gets 8 kills, he's not going to care. He's going to have boots and friggin' crap. What's it called? The Hydra's Lament. He's going to have Hydra's Lament ready, and he's going to be kicking your ass even harder. So I don't know.
I mean, by the time a jungler with this gets 8 kills, or an ADC with this gets 8 kills, or whoever has this gets 8 kills, the game's probably over already.
Yeah, especially if it's Thanatos. So
yeah, we're probably not going to see Rangda's Mask. It may see some adjustments again, just to try and make sure it's so it fits a niche item, but it's not completely unviable. Sands of Time is a nice item which I could see being built on a couple of people.
Sands of Time is an interesting one, actually. It's 800 gold. It's more expensive than the previous one we mentioned. However, plus 20 magic power, plus 5 MP5, and 10% cooldown reduction. And the passive, it grants 1 additional MP5 per 10% of your missing mana. That's, I think a lot of mages are I think a fair number of mages are going to be using this start.
Well, they would do if the Soulstone wasn't buffed, but we can answer that in just a second. But yeah, it's a decent item that if you are playing a god who wants to use their abilities as often as possible, but can't do so in the early game, I think if Soulstone wasn't buffed, if Soulstone stayed the same way as it currently was, you could see some of the more aggressive early game gods like your Anubis, your Isis, your Poseidon take this item instead.
But alas, Soulstone is probably going to make it, which they won't. And here's why. Soulstone has had its passive changed. The passive now buffs all abilities after use after stacks are consumed for 3 seconds, instead of only buffing 1 ability. Also removed MP5 on stacks and restores mana when stacks are consumed. So, now you'll get your stacks, and then you will full combo and do a ton of damage.
Yep. For those of you who use combo mages, again, like the Poseidon, like the Isis, like the Anubis, the Agni, the Scylla, basically any mage in the game, and you get Soulstone, you can kill somebody early on. You can kill people in lane at level 2.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I think just because of this Soulstone change alone, we are not going to see Sands of Time picked up by many gods. Which is a shame, because Sands of Time, on paper, is a really nice item.
Yeah.
But Soulstone's just better.
Soulstone is legitimately the only item you start with mages now. They said they wanted to diversify to start, and then they do that.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned that we've got Vampiric Shroud change later on, but we won't go through that yet. Next up, we have Swift Wing. So it's a utility-based starter. So it's costing 800 golds. 800 golds, I don't know what I'm talking about. 800 gold, plus 100 health, plus 10 HP 5, and a 5% movement speed. It's passive. Whenever you leave the fountain, you gain a bonus 40% movement speed for 15 seconds.
Essentially, whenever you leave the base, sprint for 15 seconds.
What's up, Jingwei?
You're not going to see this picked up at the very start of the game, because what's the point of picking up at the start of the game? You probably will see it picked up on solo laners and maybe some ADCs if they feel like they need to, on their first back, just to help them get back into lane consistently.
I think they're going to have their usual starting items, aren't they? They're going to use their usual starting item. However, this may be the chance of us seeing ADCs or solo laners, like Adrian said, actually picking up a second starter item, which we don't see nowadays just because we don't have the option. So it's going to be interesting to see this. I like the item, though.
Yeah, I like it. I like the idea of the item, just trying to free up that extra relic slot in the solo lane, because it was always locked into teleport.
Yeah, I think we've also realised why. So basically, if you're watching the Season 3 World Championships, you'll have noticed that the gods picked in the duo lane as an ADC role were either a mage or Jingwei. And Jingwei's passive is, well, crazy. You can go back and you get back into base for free, really. Go back to base and get back into lane for free. Whereas the Swift Wing will let you have that. It's like a pseudo Jingwei passive, but for 800 gold. I like it.
Yeah, I like the item as well. And I, for one, welcome our new starter item overlords.
Like, we've seen people on Twitter and stuff like Ataraxia mention they are going to try a 6 starter item build, and that's just I don't want to see that.
They're incredible value for money right now.
Yeah, they've got some really nice items here.
Vamp Shroud does get a small change as well. Simply added 4% magical lifesteal, because Vamp Shroud needed more sustain.
Yep, it's still not as good as Soulstone.
Nope. You get Soulstone, Tiny Trinket, done.
And now moving on. Here's an interesting one, AJ. Remember that new starter item we mentioned earlier for 500 gold called Rangda's Mask?
Yep.
Yeah, well, now we've got Rangda's Mask.
It's actually called War Flag, for those of you who are out there watching later on.
Oh, okay. Have they changed? It's actually called...
Yeah, it's called War Flag, but there is a typo on the patch notes.
Right, okay, so that's called War Flag. It costs 800 gold, has plus 10 physical power, plus 100 health, plus 5 MP5. Being in range of a minion or jungle camp death without dealing the killing blow restores 5 health and 5 mana to all allies within 55 units. Also provides you with a stacking self buff of 1% movement speed and 1% attack speed that lasts 3 seconds.
This was an item designed for support warriors. But let me ask you the question. What support warrior wants attack speed?
Osiris.
No, he's not a support.
I know. Like, why would you... I don't know. What? Who have you got as support warriors? You've got Guan, who doesn't care about attack speed.
Nope, he'd like the movement speed, so that's fine for him.
You've got Odin.
Again, doesn't care about attack speed.
Yeah. Sun Wukong.
He
Would you
again
ever pick
doesn't.
him?
No, you put him in the solo lane. There is legitimately no reason to pick up warrior supports. This was an item to incentivize it, and they've done 2 things. 1, give it a stat which warrior supports do not need, which is attack speed. And B, buffed Watcher's Gift to High Heaven, which we're going to get onto in a second. This item never is going to be picked up.
No.
You will not see it. The 5 health and 5 mana to allies within 55 units, that's a nice thing. Because it means that you can sustain your hunter as well.
Yeah.
But Watcher's Gift is so stupid now. Let's just go on to it.
Yeah, Watcher's Gift. If you didn't like it before, you're going to like it now. They've added 5 physical protection, added 5 magical protection, removed 5 HP 5, because that was the thing. The passive, increased restoration of health from 7 to 12, and mana from 7 to 10. Passive, increased gold for assists from 4 to 5. Why would you not? Watcher's Gift was a core item anyway. Why would you not pick it up? Like, you're gonna pick up Watcher's Gift now, no matter what.
Again, this is another example of we want to diversify the starts.
There you go.
Yeah, want to diversify the starts and make it so you can pick up pretty much any item available and have a different build and you be okay with it.
Yeah.
Oh, let's buff Watcher's Gift and make it the only item your support can pick up. And you know what? Let's just make it so that anybody can pick up Watcher's Gift. Every single person picks up Watcher's Gift. Fine. Everyone can do it and you'll be gold efficient.
Everyone in your team. I am now picturing an entire team of 5 Watcher's Gifts.
You might as well. Might as well just sit in lane with Watcher's Gifts, let the wave kill itself, gain more gold than you would do from killing the wave your actual self. Restore health and mana to yourself because you've been brawling with them with your 5 extra physical and magical protection.
We're not even going to see Mark of the Vanguard anymore on aggressive supports. It's just going to be Watcher's Gift.
You didn't see it before. You saw Mark of the Vanguard on solo laners as their 3rd item. You saw Mark of the Vanguard as a 3rd item on supports. You're still going to see that happen. The builds are still going to stay the same, but Watcher's Gift just makes it so the early game is a lot more aggressive.
Oh yeah, that's fun. Unless you're a passive support player, at which point it's not fun, but there we go. Those are all the starter items, complete with AJ's rant. Usually it's me ranting. AJ, what's going on, man?
Some of these changes, like the ones to Watcher's Gift, of just they're stupid.
Don't
They're
worry,
really stupid.
I've got a rant coming later on about a god change, which has been changed, but we're fine.
I can't wait to hear that one, but we're going to go on to the magical items because we are finally there. Just skipping over some of the less interesting changes, like minor changes to cost and some values. Tiny trinkets, again, minor changes. Enchanted trinket, Polynomicon, minor changes. Divine Ruin has been moved to a magical penetration item.
And buff.
Pythagorean's Peace. Why did they buff Pythax?
Everyone bought it. Everyone. And so let's quickly go for it. They've lowered the cost from 2,400 to 2,300. It now builds from the Enchanted Trinket tree. Now builds from Enchanted Trinket. Now adds 200 mana. And it has a new aura. Allies within 70 units gain 15% magical lifesteal and 30 magical power. Or 10% physical lifesteal and 20 physical power, depending on their class.
So, you're a mage. Season 3, you pick up this item, you get 90% power, 30% lifesteal, and 10% CDR. Now you pick up this item, you also gain an extra 200 mana, because what mage doesn't want mana, and you also give your hunter 10% lifesteal and 20 physical power.
Yep. For less gold.
Stupid change to one of the best items in Season 3. It's going to be picked up on every single mage from now on. If you don't pick it up, you might as well not be playing the game. Talent Trinket gets a slight cost increase. Bancroft's Talent gets a slight change as well. I just want to skip over Pythax. I'm not even talking about it again.
Let's carry on. Let's carry on.
So Bancroft's does get a slight passive change. It now also, with its increased power per missing health, also adds up to 15% bonus magical lifesteal from missing health. Not going to be picked up. There's no reason to pick it up over
Why would you pick it
Pythax.
up over Pythax?
Same thing with our next item. Why pick it up over Pythax? Book of the Dead, a new item.
Yep.
And don't pick it up because Pythax is broken.
Well, in case you want to pick it up, I will do AJ's job for him. Costs 1,600 gold to upgrade from the Talon Trinket. Makes it a 3,000 gold item in total. Plus 100 magical power, plus 15% magical lifesteal, plus 200 health. Do passive: if you deal damage to an enemy and are already at max health, you gain a health shield. This shield caps at 20% of your current HP and lasts.
Imagine it would be 20 seconds because that's what most health shields will last for.
Yep. As a
700 gold more, you gain 10 magical power, you lose 15% lifesteal, you gain 200 health, and you can have a shield which could potentially be up to 400 HP, which most mages aren't going to care about in the late game.
Even Anubis isn't going to care because he can lifesteal so much anyway.
Yeah, just don't buy this item. Again.
Buy Pythags.
Exactly, buy Pythags. Magical Penetration Tree, and this is where we get into the Divine Ruin. Magical Focus, Enchanted Spear, and Obsidian Shard have had price adjustments. Obsidian Shard, the most heavily affected, now up to 2,300 gold.
That's a hefty increase when you think about it.
They're trying to make Spear of the Magus a good alternative to it.
Well, the interesting thing as well, the Obsidian Shard price increase does tie in with the physical equivalent later on. So just bear that in mind. And then Divine Ruin now in this tree. Divine Ruin has now become one of those must-buy items. It costs 2,400 gold, upgrades from Enchanted Spear, plus 80 magical power, plus 15 magical penetration, and the passive, enemies hit by your abilities have 40% reduced healing and regeneration for 8 seconds. It says on the patch notes 50. There has been a change to that one in the round 1 of PTS hotfixes, lowering it back down to 40.
15 penetration, 80 magical power for 2,400 gold. It's fantastic. Pick up this item every single game.
Yep.
It reduces enemy lifesteal, making it a less worthwhile stat, so you can easily blow up the hunter.
And this item alone shows that in Season 4, they want to get rid of the healing meta. They want to get rid of healing completely, and we'll talk more about that later on. But this is the first of many things that say, do you want a healer? No, you don't, because Divine Ruin being this readily available is just crazy.
Then it goes on to Spear of Desolation. The entire point of this item being added to the game was to have a second luxury item for mages to build into, aside from Rod of Tahuti. So what did they do?
You don't want it? You don't want it?
No one bought it because it was too expensive for what it gave. And with a very situational passive that didn't work every single time because it only had a 30-second internal cooldown.
Yep.
Now it's got a cost decrease from 3,800 to 2,700.
For good
Decreased
reason.
magical power by 50. It's now at 70. And added 10% CDR. Removed this passive completely.
Why? Why would you pick it up?
There's no reason to pick it up. Just pick up Divine Ruin.
Yeah.
Divine Ruin and Pythags every single game.
Yeah. So Spear of Desolation essentially removed from the game, pointless. Taking up valuable memory space. Don't need it. Next up, we've got Wardstone, removed from the tree, now built on Druid Stone. Voidstone is now also removed from this tree and built in the Druid's Stone tree. Moving on, the Druid Stone tree. Here we go. This is the new magical power and magical protection tree. Druid Stone is the lowest tier, which costs 700 gold, 20 magical power, and 10 magical protection. This moves on to... Is it Stone of Binding this goes to? Or
the Druid Stone is the tier 1. Stone of Binding, much like a Doom Orb, is a pseudo tier 3. That's actually the tier 3 price range.
Yeah. Okay, so the Stone of Binding costs 1,700 gold. Is that total or on top of the Druid Stone?
That'll be total.
Okay. Plus 20 magical power, plus 30 magical protection, plus 30 physical protection, plus 10% cooldown reduction, and the passive of successfully hitting an enemy god with a card crowd control will place a buff on all allies within 70% of the 70 units of the user. The buff provides 10 penetration for 5 seconds. I like it.
I like this item. It encourages aggression and encourages grouping. Like, if you're not grouped with the person who has this item, it's not a good buy, because you can get something else that will just do a better job for you.
This is the magical equivalent of Shifter's Shield, isn't it?
Essentially, but it requires you to actually hit a hard CC first.
But I mean, stats-wise, it's...
Yeah, stats-wise, it's similar to it, and it's for 1,700 gold rather than a very expensive 2,700 gold item. And this item we might see quite a lot of if it goes through to the actual live client with its current state, because of the 10 penetration for 5 seconds means that the second you CC somebody, if you put down a stun, if you stun them with like an Icy Spirit Ball, if you stun them with an Agni Meteor, Noxious Fume combo, everybody around you now has a 10 extra penetration to blow that target up.
The question was up, is there an internal cooldown for that?
It doesn't look like there's an internal cooldown, but from what it would seem to suggest, if you hit another hard CC, it would then refresh the duration back up to 5 seconds.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So gods like Geb, are going to be quite good with that. We've got 2 forms of CC. Kumbhakana, does a root count as a hard CC?
Believe so. Don't quote me on that though.
Okay. So you can
actually, no, it does not. Root does not count as hard CC.
Okay, so there are some gods which are going to see quite good. Here's a thought. I reckon we could see Sobek using this fairly frequently. So that's a thought for you, because Sobek has a lot of CC. So bear that in mind. Next up we have Sage's Stone, which is 1400 gold, plus 40 magical power, plus 20 magical protection. And then we have the Stone of Fall, which costs 2900 gold, plus 70 magical power, plus 40 magical protection, plus 10% CDR. And anytime you would be dealt more than 30% of your max health by a single magical ability, that damage is instead reduced to exactly 30% of your max health. This can only occur once every 60 seconds.
It might see use, it might not, because there are quite a few abilities in the game that aren't ultimates that will do more than 30% of your HP. For example, Scylla, Sikkim, Scylla Crush. So you won't get the use out of the item where you want it, which is on that I'm a Monster ability. So you could see it as a mid-game item, but it costs too much to be a mid-game item. This is one you would buy at the late game. So overall, not an item you're going to be seeing too much of unless they have something like a Yanis Thoth who really has that one ability to kill you instantly.
Yeah, I think there are certain gods which you're going to want it against. So Scylla, Poseidon, Yanis, Thoth. The issue with this is, again, there are so many abilities in this game which can lower your health by more than 30% anyway, that I don't think you're ever going to get to use this ability of this item on what you want to use it on.
Yeah, and it looks like I would say that the way the passive would work, like it doesn't say so here, but in my mind it's going to be, if it's a dot-based ability, each dot would check for that 30% of your max HP.
Yeah. Yeah, does that count? Would it stop a dot? Yeah.
I don't say it would stop the dot. So if you're someone like a Jean Quinn, you put down your card on them and it does 50% of their HP, it won't reduce it to 30%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, not a good pickup against certain things then.
Yeah. So magical power and physical protection tree. This was the sort of Celestial Legion Helm, Lotus Crown, and Dynasty Blade Helm tree.
Yeah.
So there are going to be a couple changes here and a new item added. Celestial Legion Helm has had its passive taken away from it and has had a couple of adjustments to its power and protection to compensate. As well as being given a new passive. It now has 60 magical power, 30 physical protection, 20 MP5, and any god affected by your ability heals gain 20 increased physical and magical power for 5 seconds.
Is anyone going to pick that up?
I'd say so. I'd say if you're looking to be aggressive as a healer, if you're looking to play into the fights as a healer, you pick this item, you give your team increased power, increased 20 increased power, whether they're physical or magical, for 5 seconds, so just kill somebody as quickly as possible.
Actually, you can see, if you're looking at Aphrodite, you kiss the ADC, and boom, away you go. So this is meant as an equivalent, essentially a power equivalent to Lotus. Is it Lotus?
Yeah, it's Lotus Crown.
Yeah. So it's the equivalent of Lotus Crown, just instead of defense, they get power. So,
I mean, the state it was in before Celestial Legion Helm, it was either a fantastically great item with a useless passive, or it was a terrible item with a useless passive.
Yeah.
So I'm all for this change. I'm all for having this item actually have some use. But Jade Emperor's Crown is a brand new item into the game.
It is indeed. So it's another aura effect, essentially. Costs 2150 gold. It's pretty cheap when you think about it. 20 magical power, 60 physical protection, 100 health, and enemies within 55 units of you have their physical power. Sorry, enemies within 55 units of you have their physical power reduced by 30.
Yep. It's a decent item. It's one which they put in to split up some auras so you can pinpoint exactly what you want. But what they haven't done is they haven't. Well, actually, I can't remember the exact value of Witchblade, but I think they haven't increased the physical power reduction to compensate for it.
No, I don't think they have. We're gonna have to look at that when we get to physical items, but we've got tons of magical items before then.
So, yeah.
We'll let you know when we get to it.
Yeah, I just had a look, and physical power reduced by 30 on Witchblade currently, so they haven't adjusted the physical power stat to compensate.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay. Okay, so we've got a couple of little changes. Restored Artifact has had its cost reduced to 1600 from 1900. It's had its MP5 increased from 10 to 20. But it's interesting considering it was a middle item, wasn't it, between Chronos Pendant and Rod of Tabuti. So that's it's a much more attractive choice now. Actually, it's offsetting that jump between the first stage and the two final items. But mentioning Chronos Pendant, we have got a change to Chronos Pendant in general. Its cost has been increased from 2400 to 2900. Its magical power has been decreased from 75 to 60, but it's got a new passive of every 10 seconds the pendant activates, subtracting 1 second from all abilities currently on cooldown.
So essentially they're giving it 10% CDR.
Yeah. But certain gods aren't going to feel it as much. So gods which have really low cooldowns like Hibo, Chang'e, they're not going to see it unless you properly time your usage of the ability to coincide with the Chronos Pendant passive activation. Whether you'd build it on those gods, I'm not sure, but when you consider how much CDR is being thrown around in this patch, Chronos Pendant may not be as core as it once was.
The tip which they said here is Chronos Pendant is receiving a new passive to make it the premier mage cooldown item. It was already the premier mage cooldown item. They had 20% CDR on it. You bought it if you wanted cooldowns.
Yep. On the upside, however, it does now allow you to overcap your CDR, essentially.
Yeah, but it's cost 2,900 gold for something which gives you 60 magical power.
It's not worth what it was.
Why get the passive effect from this when you can instead get Rod of Tabuti for 400 gold more and then kill people instead?
Yep. Rod of that booty. Such a good item. They've actually given it a buff as well. They've lowered its price and increased its MP5.
It's a cost reduction of 20 and an increase of MP5, doubling its current value from 15 to 30. It's a quality of life change. Throughout these changes, they've put items that have had odd prices like 3,320 or 2,180. They put those down to the 50s or 100s just to level it out a bit more.
It's more of it's easier on the eyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
The 20s just annoy people. Having zeros and 50s make it that much nicer for us. Carrying on, we do have a couple more changes we've got in this tree. The magical power and mana tree has had the Soul Reliquary price decreased to 650, and its magical power down from 30 to 20. Soul Trap has had its price increased from 1590 to 1600, and Soul Reaver has had its price increased from 2940 to 2950. So, no major changes. Soul Reaver only 10 gold more, but it's a much nicer item, much nicer price for your eyes.
It's still just pales in comparison to an item which we're about to get onto, but the magical power and health tree is where it lies. Uncommon Sash, the tier 1 has cost reduction, decreased magical power from 20 to 15, and an decrease in health from 100 to 75. You can now buy this and a push at the beginning of the game. Fortified Scepter is a brand new item.
It is indeed. It costs 1,350 gold, 50 magical power, 150 health, and a 5% crowd control reduction.
Yep, it's a decent one.
It's a new CCR item, isn't it? So.
Yep. General Isolation now builds off Fortified Scepter, remove the mana, and added 10% crowd control reduction.
Yep.
So.
Still got them slows.
Still got the slow, still got every benefit to the passive, but now on to the reason why Soul Reaver has been killed off the face of the planet. Ethereal Staff has been changed.
Oh, and it's not a small change, guys. Ethereal Staff has been changed amazingly. Now costs 2,700 gold, builds off the Fortified Scepter, gives you 90 power, 200 health, 20% crowd control reduction with a new passive. As we know, its passive used to relate to health before. Now it doesn't. Your abilities deal bonus damage to enemy gods equal to 5% of their max health. This effect can only occur once per god per ability. I think it's got a 3-second internal cooldown. Is that right?
As of round 1 PTS hotfix, which was the 20th of January, it does now have a 3-second internal cooldown. But here's the thing: you can reduce an enemy's health by 10% of their max HP every 40 seconds with Soul Reaver, or you could do it every 6 seconds with Ethereal Staff.
Yeah, they didn't think this through.
It's meant to be an item that encourages you to combo abilities and then kill somebody because of it. So they give it a passive effect which they already have in the game. Instead, I'd like to see it have gone into something like increase scaling by the amount of abilities you hit. So it could give you an extra 5% magical power per ability hit within the past 3 seconds or something.
Ethereal Staff is now crazy. I just had a thought. Poseidon, how long does this whirlpool last?
It lasts for too long.
So it would be able to whirlpool, get a tick, carry on the whirlpool, get another tick.
No, it's only once per
ability, isn't it? Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, that's a good thing to check.
Yeah. No, legitimately, if it wasn't once per ability, and it was just buys this insta kills anybody.
Yeah, Anubis should just destroy anyone. That's ridiculous. Wow.
Yep. Rod of Healing and Rod of Asclepius are seeing some changes as well. They're getting their aura decreased, but they're getting their aura in combat added to it. So overall, if you're in combat, it's a buff. If you're out of combat, it's a nerf, just to encourage more fighting with these items bought.
Yeah. We used to see those. People would go out of combat and then heal up to full with gods who had this item. They're now trying to encourage you to heal in fights and not be able to heal up as much in between the fights. It makes sense, but again, it's trying to deal with that healing meta.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree with the changes. I agree with the direction that they're trying to take it. Just try to force fights if you are healing, and that ties into what they did with Celestial Legion Helm as well.
Yep. That was earlier on, wasn't it? So
yeah.
Yep. So now we've got one last tree in the magical list. Oh my god, we've got so much left to go. We've got the magical power and attack speed tree. Emerald Ring has had its cost decreased from 690 to 650. Enchanted Ring has gone up from 1075 to 1400 and has attack speed increased from 10 to 15%. And Demonic Grip has had its cost increased to 2300, but it's 20 up. And attack speed reduced from 25 to 20%. And now
it's a slight nerf because well, magical ADCs were dominating the Smite meta.
Yeah, still will be when you get to later on. Now we've got a new change to Darkkai3's Ring. However, now that's unexpected for Darkkai3's Ring change because a fair few gods still picked that up.
Yeah, the way that they said it on the patch notes was that there was this DPS calculation where the Demonic Grip or Darkkai3's Ring was going to be more worth it for you at the time, and then you'd build into that one and you would forego the other one for the entirety of the game. So instead of having this, you buy one or the other, you can now buy both and still feel good about it. Because Darkkai3's Ring is now being outfitted with a Crusher-style passive. When its new passive is successfully hitting enemies or structures with basic attacks gives you a buff of 10 magical power, can buff yourself up to 5 times and lasts for 5 seconds. To combat this, though, because it's quite a powerful passive, give yourself 50 magical power for free. Its cost has gone up to 2800. Its magical power has then been increased to 80, and its decreased attack speed from 30% to 20%.
I think this is going to get picked up a fair amount. It's a good item. Although, as much as I hate Crusher's passive, oh my god, I think Crusher is... I hate that item so much. I can see, like in this case, it's actually a pretty good passive, I feel. It's going to be ridiculous on Soul.
Definitely, but something else that's ridiculous is Shaman's Ring. One of 3 items in the game that's having this new maximum HP and mana per hit restoration style effect added to it. Costs 2400 gold, 40 magical power, 30% attack speed. This is every basic attack that hits an enemy god, heals you for 3% of your maximum health and mana per hit.
Wow. That's, again, and the magical auto attackers are crazy.
And this, in effect, is actually better than Lifesteal.
Yeah. No doubt about that. Christ. That's actually, like, for 2400 gold, that's a fair price considering what you're getting.
It's a good price. It doesn't give you too much in the way of magical power, but it gives you a lot in the way of attack speed, which is what this item needs to be beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, for the gods which are going to want this, the attack speed is going to help them like crazily. Sol, Kronos, Freya. It's going to be interesting to see who picks us up and who keeps with the Demonic Grip or Telkein's Ring, especially with these changes. I'm going to be intrigued to see how these builds change or adapt to take these new things in.
But that's it for the magical items. Hallelujah. We're now onto the physical items. Whoa. Physical lifesteal as our first category. Bound Gauntlet, removed attack speed, added 75 mana, added 10% crowd control reduction. Because this is the patch of everything gets crowd control reduction or cooldown reduction.
They realised that crowd control was the big issue, so instead of toning down for crowd control, they just gave everything CCR. Soul Eater has been changed. It's had its cost increased from 2,000 to 2,200. They've removed the attack speed, thrown it out the window. They've added 200 mana, added 20% crowd control reduction, and the new passive of hitting an enemy gods with a basic attack heals you for 3% of your max HP per hit.
Yep, it's the physical equivalent of that new Shaman's Ring, which we just talked about a bit earlier.
And changing the item that no one ever builds anyway makes it a little bit more attractive.
I mean, this again could be considered better than lifesteal, especially in high attack speed builds.
Oh yeah.
But now moving on to physical penetration. Mace reduced cost by 100. Warrior's Bane increased cost by 50. Titan's Bane increased to 2,300. A la Obsidian Shard.
Yep.
Just give some consistency between the physical and magical equivalents. Brawler's Beatstick is having some changes as well.
To fit with the anti-healing ideas they've got going on here, they've decreased the cost from 2,400 to 2,200. They've decreased the physical penetration from 20 to 15, and they've changed the passive slightly. Healing reduction increased from 40% to 40%.
Yeah,
because it was 40 to 50, they've lowered it back down to 40 now.
Yeah, as of round 1, it's now back to 40, but when it was first released, it was back up to 50. So, again, more anti-heal available. This one's just more readily available for the passive rather than for the penetration.
Yeah.
The Crusher is next up on the list. 2,300 gold, 30 physical power, 15% attack speed, and 15 physical penetration. Again, a slight nerf on the physical penetration aspect to focus more solely on its new passive.
Yep. They're turning it basically into the Shaman's Ring now, essentially? No, not the Shaman's Ring. What am I looking at? What am I supposed to be looking at? It's Telkein's Ring.
It doesn't really have a magical counterpart because this one subtracts 1 second from all your abilities currently on cooldown for hitting a basic attack on an enemy god.
Wait, what?
Yep, it doesn't have a magical equivalent right now, and this effect can only occur once every 5 seconds, but you could look at it as essentially being 20% cooldown reduction.
They just made the Crusher much more attractive to me.
Yeah, the Crusher is somewhat decent these days, but again, it's more of it's still more of an assassin item than it is a hunter item. Your more ability-based hunters like Ola, Shivalonke could be considered in there as well, and Skadi, they might pick up the Crusher still, but you're still going to be looking at your auto-attack-based assassins. Ones that want to be going off the split pushing, like Bastet, could definitely pick this one up.
So Crusher still core item for Bastet as she was before. Moving on, we have got some changes to the physical power and physical protection tree. Round Shield has had its cost decreased from 890 to 650, and its power decreased from 15 to 10. Spike Shield has decreased from 1610 to 1600. Shield of Regrowth has been removed from the tree and is now built off Glowing Emerald. And we have a new item called the Gladiator's Shield.
Yep, 1,700 gold, 25 physical power, 40 physical protections. Again, 10% cooldown reduction. Hallelujah! Praise cooldown reduction. Anytime you hit an enemy god with an ability, you're healed for 2% of your max health and mana. This is the third and final item in that sort of healed for percent of your health and mana style auras. Or passives. Yeah.
So, Warriors, it's basically a warrior item, isn't it? So, the Warriors kind of didn't have a thing like Ikavolorasi, so they're now giving them something similar to it, which means, again, your boxing gods are going to be powered up a little bit, so we may see Osiris come back into the meta.
Again, I see this more as for those low cooldown assassins, more than anything else. Just giving them some extra sustain in the jungle, extra sustain during ganks.
Yep. Okay. So moving on, physical power and magic protection tree. Enchanted Buckler gone down from 700 to 650. Runic Shield has had its physical power up from 25 to 35. They've removed the attack speed reduction from the aura, and the visual effects are no longer there.
So yeah, it still reduces magical power by 70, but because the attack speed is now solely on Witchblade, it's just there.
Yeah.
And Kile has also had a buff. The internal cooldowns were reduced to 30 seconds, and it now displays some visual effects on the owner when it's off cooldown.
Okay, so that's it's a little bit of a quality of life, and the passive has been increased. Maybe more people will pick it up. You never really saw Anseal before, did you? So
no.
Maybe this will change it, but I wouldn't hold your breath. Physical power and mana tree Morningstar has had its cost decreased from 650 to 550. That's it.
I don't know why.
The crazy thing is, you can now build a starter item and this, and wasn't it set to 650 so that you couldn't do that?
No. It was if you buy a starter item and another item costs 650, you have room for 1 potion.
Right.
And Devour's Gauntlets, you could get 2 potions. Morningstar, you could get 1, but the trade-off was Morningstar would give you a more aggressive and early game-oriented build with the Transcendence Rush.
Yeah.
With this start, now you can get Death Toll, Morningstar, and 3 potions.
Yeah.
I could see it with the buff to Death Toll and this change to Morningstar's starting cost, that we could see gods like Ulla, gods like Shibalonke pick up Death Toll first and then go into a Transcendence.
So we could see them come back into the meta a little bit now as well.
Potentially, but they still suffer from the same problems that they always have done.
Yeah.
And that the way they come back into the meta is not through the item changes, but would be through some core changes to how their kits function.
Yeah. And as we know, both Shibalonke and Ulla are remarkably mana hungry. So I don't know how they're going to change those, but we'll see.
No.
Okay, so moving on, we've got physical power and health tree. The cudgel has decreased in cost from 750 to 650 and had 5 physical power added to it. And Runeforged Hammer has been quite heavily changed, actually. It's had its power increased from 30 to 40. However, its passive, which was power based on your physical protections, has now changed to enemies take 10% bonus damage from you if they are affected by any form of crowd control.
It's a good change because it was a very niche role before, like only when you're slowed will you take extra damage. So not everyone can pick it up. Now, if you're any form of warrior with any form of CC, or you have a CC heavy team, you can pick up this item and give your team a lot of extra damage onto a single target.
I mean, I'm not sure if I prefer this one to the old version. I like the old Runeforged Hammer, maybe because I've seen it in that form for years now. So it's end of an era to see it change, really. But we do have a new item, which I'm wondering if AJ can pronounce.
Shillelagh.
The Shillelagh.
Is it pronounced Shillelagh?
It's pronounced Shillelagh because it's Celtic. Are you questioning the Celt? Are you questioning the Celt, boy?
No, we're just trying to make sure that you know exactly why it's pronounced Shillelagh.
I don't know what the etymology of Shillelagh is or how the Celt language rules work, but I know it's Shillelagh. So.
Okay.
Because
I got closer than a lot of people would have said.
I've seen Shillelagh. This item costs 1500 gold, has 10 physical power, 100 health, and 100 mana.
It's a tier 2 item.
It is a tier 2 item, and that builds into the new Blackthorn Hammer, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Am I right? And the Blackthorn Hammer costs 2300 gold, has 30 physical power, 200 health, 200 mana, and the passive is if you are reduced to below 30% HP, all of your cooldowns are reduced by 3 seconds, and all of your abilities cost 0 mana to cast for the next 5 seconds. This effect can only be activated once every 60 seconds.
Niche item, one that you're buying if you're not going to be the aggressors or if you want to get out of fights more easily. Don't really see it being picked up too much.
No. I think we're going to see it in those unfavourable matchups in solo lane, possibly.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those items to give you that little bit of breathing room. Interesting item. Interesting to see how it's going to go. And now we're moving on to the physical power and attack speed tree. It's a huge change in this tree. Lightblade has been reduced to 600 gold, and Assy has been reduced to 1750 from 1780.
Again, just putting in line with those 50 or 100 gold costs. Attack speed tree has now had some changes and a new item added. Shortbow has got its price increased to 650 because buying that at the start with 2 potions was ridiculous. Hunter's Bow costs 1,150, builds off Short Bow and gives 25% attack speed, and Silver Branch Bow builds off this Hunter's Bow.
Yeah, so we've got a new one here. 1,700 gold, built off the Hunter's Bow, as Adrian just said. Plus 10%, plus 10 physical penetration, plus 30% attack speed, and the new passive is every successful basic attack increases your physical power by 10, and reduces your target's magical power from items by 10 for 3 seconds, maxing at 3 stacks. For those of you who are looking at these numbers going, that sounds familiar, that is because this is quite literally a magical version of the Ichabod.
Most often the times in lane against your Freys, your Kronos, your Souls, Hunters had a difficult time boxing them because the Ick-File wasn't really allowing them to do that. Yes, it would give them penetration and attack speed, but it wouldn't reduce the effectiveness of their auto attacks.
It would give them the increased physical power, though.
It would, but that wasn't too much of a help when Kronos and Freya were destroying you because they built 2 items and can now kill you in 2 hits.
Yep.
This might help them out a bit, but it still,
won't.
Has the problem.
It won't. When we get to the god changes, it won't.
Oh yeah, the massive nerf to Freya means she's totally unplayable.
Yeah,
now.
it's gonna be ridiculous. We'll get to that when we get to it. Next up, we have the physical power and movement speed tree changes. The katana has had its price decreased from 800 to 700. Masamune is that a new item?
No, Masamune was an old item that gave you increased physical power depending on if they had more HP than you had.
Yeah.
But now it's got a new passive, basically a brand new item. Costs 2,500 gold now, 50 physical power, 100 health, 10% movement speed, and for every enemy god within 55 units of you, you get a stacking buff that provides 5 protections, i.e. 5 physical, 5 magical, and can stack up to 5 times.
It's pretty good. Maybe more people to buy it now.
I mean, the item had its niche role, had its effectiveness, but yeah, the only time you bought it is if you were behind, and even then, you needed to build into other items to get yourself back into the game because the passive just didn't give you enough.
I mean, it says a lot when I ask, is that a new item?
Yeah.
Because I don't see it. I never see it. I never build it, so I didn't actually know what it did. So there you go. Masamune changes. Heartseeker has changed as well. Again. How many times has Heartseeker changed now?
This will be about iteration 392.
Okay, so iteration 392 of the Heartseeker. The cost has been increased from 1,800 to 2,100. They've added 10 physical penetration, removed the old passive, they've thrown that out into the trash, and it has a new passive now. Every successful basic attack gives you 1 stack of focus. At 5 stacks of focus, your next ability consumes the stacks and deals bonus damage equal to 100% of your physical power to the first enemy god hit.
Alright, well I'm going to build about 300 physical power on this, maybe even go to 500 with Mercury because movement speed, and then one-shot people with this. Fantastic, Hi-Rez. Brilliant. Fantastic change to a very decent item.
I just
We're not even halfway through.
I just sighed at focus. It's back.
It had focus before, it had those stacks before, and it was a good item before. There was no need to change it.
Yeah.
Like, it had its role, it had its build options, it had its benefits, had its drawbacks, and now you just build it.
But it wasn't being built enough, AJ. That's how
well, then change the numbers, adjust, do your job, and balance things. Don't just give up because it's difficult.
You know what the balance team is like. Anyway, not ranting about the balance team because this entire patch notes is a rant against the balance team. Physical power and critical chance. We're about to see some things in the critical chance trees which are going to piss you off because, yeah. Hidden Dagger has had its price increased from 670 to 700. Rage has been changed. Its cost has been increased from 2,400 to 2,600. Its passive has been removed, and its new passive is earning a kill or assist fills you with rage, increasing your critical chance by 20%. This buff can stack up to 3 times and lasts for 5 seconds.
Now, when you say changed, do you mean killed?
No, it's not. Why would you build this? Congratulations, you've killed 3 enemies at the Fire Giant. Now take the Fire Giant with your increased crit chance.
Great job, Hi-Rez. It should have been, like, if the enemy gets a kill or assist, you get rage.
Yeah.
To help you fight back into them.
Yeah.
That would have been an interesting passive.
Yeah.
Wants to build like, okay, we might lose this fight, so I'm going to then just try and carry it for my team.
Yeah. You need, like, if you're losing the fight, the rage could have been actually helped out. You've watched your friend die, so you're going to be angry. You want to Hulk out and you want to kick him ass.
Exactly.
But in this case, no, you wouldn't. I don't see the point. The benefit of it is completely outweighed. Like, sure, you'll get a kill, and then you've got 5 seconds of 20% extra crit. But on the grand scheme, I don't think we're going to see much use from it, especially with the increase in price. So, but now, get ready to get pissed off, boys. Get ready for it.
You remember back when they changed rage for the first time?
Yeah.
They said they didn't want attack speed and crit on the same items.
Yeah, because it was too strong. They made it so that crit and attack speed, the hunters, you couldn't deal with hunters, could you?
Yeah.
Well, boys, Hi-Rez have learned from that mistake and have now added attack speed to crit chance.
Shuriken has got its price reduced to 650. Its physical power has been decreased to 10 to compensate, but it's added 5% attack speed. 8-pointed Shuriken, the tier 2, has added 10% attack speed. Wind Demon keeps its 10% attack speed plus its already insane benefits to it, and Poison Star gets 15 to 10% attack speed. Because why not give attack speed to items which are already being built every game?
Here's the thing, Wind Demon.
Best crit item right now.
Huh?
Best crit item by itself right now in Season 3.
I'm trying to think of any ADC that doesn't benefit from Wind Demon as it is now. Why give it the attack speed?
There's just no... this is, again, a change which I don't think they've really thought about, because Wind Demon was already picked up a lot.
Wind Demon's a good item.
I'd say if they just added it to Poison Star...
Poison Star needs an excuse for people to buy it, really, don't it? Doesn't it?
If they gave it to just Poison Star, I would have gone, yeah, that's fine. That's a good change.
You choose Wind Demon or Poison Star at that point, don't you? So,
but just give it to Wind Demon as well. Just make the best crit item in the game even better.
It's ridiculous. Actually ridiculous.
Now we're going
let's just move on before we can go on to ages just slagging them off like that.
Neutral items. Items that can be built by both classes. First off is the attack speed and movement speed tree, and this is where a bit more salt will come into proceedings. Ancient Blade has its cost reduced. Ritual Dagger, previously known as Ritual Dagger.
I don't even know what's going on there.
They removed its old passive and gave it a new passive, which is gain 20% cooldown reduction on your relics, because relics needed cooldown reduction as well. Not going to be picked up at all because the old passive was much better.
Yep.
But Hastened Fatalis. Oh boy!
Oh yeah! So, if Fatalis wasn't good enough for you on gods like, I don't know, Freya, beforehand, it's even better now, to an extent. Fatalis, it's had its attack speed decreased from 30 to 20%. Oh, what? Oh, that sounds like a nerf, Dark. What are you complaining about? Added 10 penetration.
That's exactly what the item needed.
The amount of salt from this patch is ridiculous. Like, you probably haven't heard sarcastic AJ as much as you have in this episode. Possibly because it's a bloody long episode. But oh my god. Hasten Fatalis is just ridiculous.
Fatalis did need a buff because it was only being picked up by Freya. This, adding penetration to it and decreasing the attack speed, is just making it very, very ideal for pretty much everybody in the game who basic attacks.
Yeah. Whether we'll see it picked up as much, I don't know. Like, whether we'll see it picked up a lot more. We probably will see it picked up a lot more. You know what I mean? We're not going to see it. Yeah. We're not going to see it suddenly become core on gods where it wasn't before. But I think more gods are going to be picking it up now as a viable choice.
Yeah.
To carry on from that, we do have changes to Curse Blade and Witch Blade. So Curse Blade has had its physical protection removed, has had 100 health added on, increased attack speed from 10% to 15%, added 5% movement speed, has a new passive aura where all enemies within 55 units have their attack speed reduced by 10%.
Yep, it's another tier 2 item which now has a passive, simply just to allow you to build into the aura a bit earlier and get that effect a bit quicker online.
Yeah, and tying in Psycho.
Because you're really building this item when the enemy hunter is starting to become a problem.
Yes.
So you want to be able to get that passive online and start reducing their attack speed as quickly as possible. So I am for this change.
Yeah, and then that leads into the Witchblade changes. Again, physical protection has been removed from the Witchblade, adding 200 health, adding 10% movement speed, again putting it in line with this entire tree in general, having speed. And then they have removed the physical power reduction from the aura, and they've changed its passive to have enemies hit by your basic attacks are cursed, receiving 15% reduced healing, stacking up to 3 times and lasting 5 seconds.
Because auto attackers need healing reduction on their items as well. Everyone does. But it still also reduces their attack speed by 10%, by the way.
Oh! Okay, so that's still there. So it's got a second passive.
It's got an aura and a passive, this item.
Okay.
So, yeah, I can see this being picked up a lot by some auto-attack centric warriors like your Bellona, Erlang Shen, Osiris being picking this one up a lot. Maybe even Hercules if he gets picked up.
Hercules may pick up Witchblade in this, yeah. Because when he isn't driving, striking you into a wall, he is smacking you in the face with his huge hammer. So, yeah, Witchblade, all-round good spot, I feel.
Yep, health and protections tree, price reductions across the board. If you want to know them, look them up. We are moving on to health for physical protection and health. Iron Mail got nerfed for some reason. It's now got 650 cost, 75 health, and 10 protections. More accessible at 650 gold, but less value for it.
It does increase when you've got stuff in it, though. It just makes it start off a little bit worse. They've also changed physical protection and mana tree. Breastplate has gone down from 555 to 500. Surprising it's not 555 to 550, but that's just me. Silver Breastplate added 10 MP5, because reasons. Breastplate of Valor reduced physical protection from 75 to 65 and added 10 MP5. Breastplate of Valor definitely picked up by almost everyone.
And it's going to continue to be picked up by almost everyone. Yep. The protection reduction means it's going to be a less sought after pick by everybody, but it's still something to build into because it gives that 20% cooldown reduction. Yeah,
and it does have 10 MP5 now as well, making it a little bit attractive, but it's still a good item. Hide of the Nemean Lion has had its physical protections reduced, finally, from 90 to 80. And it's had 20 MP5 added and increased the passive Reflect from 20 to 25. Oh joy.
Before, it wasn't doing its job at all of reflecting basic attack damage and stopping the auto-attackers auto-attacking you down. Because they would just lifesteal through the damage given.
Yeah.
With this new passive Reflect, it might be able to nullify the healing effect, which means that this item will then do its job.
I'm more concerned about if they wanted to increase the passive Reflect, why did they lower the health, lower physical protection? Because it's still going to get torn through just as quickly.
My guess is because because they're adding the 20 MP5 to it as well, and they didn't want to adjust the price to make it an exclusive late game item.
Okay, hold on. As well, if they're lowering the physical protections, if they're lifestealing, aren't they doing more damage and therefore getting more lifesteal?
Slightly more, but the passive Reflect will outweigh the physical protection loss.
Okay, so pardon me, and may see some more use now. Spectral Armor has had its physical protection decreased from 80 to 70. It's had its 10 MP5 added, decreased the CCR from... This is the OG CCR item, isn't it?
Yeah.
Decreased CCR from 25 to 20%, and a new passive: at any time you receive physical damage from a god, enemies within 30 units of you become feared for what? Wait, what?
Yeah, they become feared for a second. Effect can't happen more than once every 60 seconds. It's not a good item because you pick this up against hunters, and they can also attack you from 55 units away, so the fear is useless.
Well, you may put up a spoopy ghost and try and scare them from a distance and they run away of their own accord.
I mean, if you're being ganked by an assassin consistently, if you're being ganked by a Cirquette, every 60 seconds, you pick up this item, she jumps in, she gets feared, you're away.
Yay! I'll let you know, but it's for 1 second, right? What if she hits you with her taunt?
If she hits you with a taunt first, then you've allowed her to get too close.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Magical protection and health.
Yeah. Magical protection and health. Talisman has had its cost decrease. It's a similar situation to the blah 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 blah. What's the word? The Iron Mail. It's had its price decreased to 650, health decreased to 75, and magical protections decreased to 15. Silver Talisman has had its price increased to 1250. Bulwark of Hope has had its price increased to 2550. Again, general changes just to change prices. We have a new item called the Talisman of the Relentless.
This one is sort of an alternative to Magi's Blessing. Whilst Magi's Blessing would consume the first CC hit and then, count down from there till you can then use the ability passive again. This one works the opposite way. It's 2,250 gold, 50 magical protection, 200 health, 20% crowd control reduction. Each time you're hit with a hard crowd control from an enemy god, you gain a stack. At 3 stacks, the next hard CC ability you are hit by will make you CC immune for 1 second. Can only occur once every 90 seconds. It's a worse Magi's Blessing because of the internal cooldown.
That 90-second cooldown is the worst part, isn't it? Really. If that got lowered, I feel that'd actually be a really nice item.
I could see it being picked up a fair bit against magical focus comps because Magi's Blessing offers you the HP and only 15 magical protections.
Yeah.
Whilst this offers you 200 health and 50 magical protection.
Yeah.
If the cooldown was then lowered to about 45 seconds, it would be too good to go into other than Magi's Blessing.
Yeah. Okay. It's a nice idea, but that like you said, that cooldown is going to cause us some issues. Moving forward to magic protections and mana, the Enchanted Kusari has had its price decrease to 650, and its magic protection decreased from 30 to 20. Genji's Guard has had its magic protection decreased from 80 to 70. Oni Hunter's Garb has had its passive changed. When you deal damage to an enemy god, if at least 2 other enemy gods are within 55 units of you, you gain 15% damage mitigation for 5 seconds. This can only occur every 90 seconds.
I mean, it's a decent idea, but again, the 90-second internal cooldown might be a bit too long for the late game. It's a good early mid-game item to survive ganks.
It's starting to sound a bit like things like bloody Pokemon and stuff, or Yu-Gi-Oh! And shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's all board state changes now. If you deal damage to an enemy god, if at least 2 other enemy gods are within 55 units of you, you gain this.
Yep.
And we do...
Go on.
Oh, okay, I'll carry on. We do have a new item as well, called the Shogun's Kusari!
Okay, I wish I went now.
Do you want to take us through it, AJ?
Alright, it's a new item that builds off of the Enchanted Kusari tree, as you would imagine. 2,400 gold cost, 60 magical protection, 20 MP5, 10% CDR, 20% CCR, and allies within 70 units of you gain bonus 15% attack speed. Not going to be picked up because you're only really benefiting 1, maybe 2 people in the team.
Yep. Unless your team's got a ton of attack speed gods, but then you screwed up at some point.
There's quite a fair bit of anti-attack speed available in the game now, to the point where this would be needed to be built on a high attack speed team just so you could counter those items.
Yeah.
So it has its uses, but in a traditional team comp where you only have 1 basic attack focused character, not really. Could be picked up.
Okay, we're getting close to it, and this is the last part of the item changes. Jesus. Which is the health and HP 5 tree. Stone of Gaia has had its passive changed. Okay. The new passive, if you are hit by a knock-up or a knockback, you are instead enveloped by the earth, becoming CC immune for 1 second and regenerating 10% of your max health and mana over 5 seconds. Can only occur once every 90 seconds. I liked Old Stone of Gaia!
Old Stone of Gaia had its purpose. It had its sustainability there. Now you're locking it behind a trigger, which, if you're building this as a warrior, you're not really going to be hit by knockups or knockbacks. If you're building this as a mage, you are going to be hit by the knockups and knockbacks, but most likely you're going to purify them, you're going to use your sanctuary on them, or you are dead because they just blow you up from the CC chain. And if you're building this as a hunter, same thing happens as if you were a mage.
Yeah.
There's not really so much use out of this item, I feel.
No. Stone of Gaia, dead in the water. Shield of Growth has had a few changes as well. Remove physical protections, remove physical power. Now adds 400 health, increase CDR from 10 to 20. Adds 10 HP5, adds 10 MP5, and the passive movement speed buff has increased from 35 to 40%.
It's a slight change on it now. It's just so it's now available to the magical healers as well, like your Aphrodite, Hel, and Ra.
Yeah.
And with the changes to the way healing is working now with the changes to anti-heal and to the healing abilities themselves. This might be needed to be built on those healers just to get some survivability around the fights.
I'm interested to see how that speed buff interacts with Hell.
I think she's race car now.
She's fast. She's gonna be Sanic. She's gonna be like Lace's Jungle Poseidon. If you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. People at home will remember that, which is why I question you bringing it up.
It's crazy. It's actually crazy.
Final item.
Yeah, final item change, the Gauntlet of Thebes. The passive, the old aura has been removed. The new aura is the magical and physical protection of allies within 70 units are increased by 20.
Hello, brand new must-have support item.
Yeah.
I mean, 20 magical, 20 physical protections, and 400 health?
Yeah, man.
Yep, everyone's buying that.
Yep, good item.
Yeah,
really good item.
It's a really good item.
Okay, and with that, that is the end, finally, of the item changes. If you haven't had a drink throughout this entire show, I recommend you pause the show and go get a drink, because it has now been over 2 hours of us talking about the damn changes. We are turning into the friggin' Smite channel. Oh my god. Right. Last thing of this
But we're
patch.
actually going in depth to some of the changes, whilst they just skimmed over a lot of them.
And we're still doing it shorter than they were.
Yep.
Right. God changes. You ready for this, boys? First up, Aphrodite. Because
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. General, base health increase 355 to 380. Back off has had its magical power scaling increase from 60 to 80. Cool. Apollo!
Welcome back, Apollo, to the
Hi,
meta, because before his So Beautiful was dealing 15% reduced damage to successive enemies hit. No longer happens. So Beautiful hits everybody it hits for full power, so we can now full clear the wave.
Yep. And Across the Sky has been changed slightly. It was a very good split pushing tool. It's now had its cooldown change from 110 to 90 to stay at 110 seconds at all ranks. I like that change.
I like the changes to Apollo, brings him back into the meta without pushing him over the limit with the changes to Across the Sky.
Yeah.
Good changes. Back at Sora, nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Regurgitate has been changed, or not changed, has a slow increase from 15 to 35, from 20 to 40. Slow duration is 4 seconds instead of applying in one area, and the cone attack duration has increased from 5 to 6 seconds. Chang'e! Sorry, carry on.
Bakasura's change, it's a good change. It allows him to do what he does best, which is kill people with his ultimate. Because now the 4 second slow is there regardless of whether you're standing in the area effect or not.
Before, he'd throw it down and you'd get out.
Yeah.
So,
but now you just sprint away from him.
Yep. Chang'e. So she's had a few changes going in general. Jade Rabbit has had its speed to base increased to 3.5 times the player speed. The average trip time has gone from 44 seconds to 34 seconds with boots in mid lane. Her Moonlit Waltz has had its wind-up time decreased from 0.1 seconds to 0 seconds. And Moonflower Dance has had the decreased magical power scaling on her heal from 40 to 30, and increased magical power scaling on her damage from 30 to 50%.
This really cements her as this aggressive anti-heal god.
Yeah.
Which is what she needed to be, because before she was sort of like stuck in between this. She was stuck in this limbo of, I want to heal my team, but I also want to reduce your healing.
Yeah. Essentially, the only role Chang'e used to play was, have you got a hell on the enemy team, pick Chang'e.
Pretty much, but even then, Hell would still outpressure the Chang'e in lane because Chang'e couldn't deal with the Hell's damage.
Oh no, there was no way of dealing with that before, but we'll get onto that soon. But yeah, Chang'e, good position now.
Okay, and first of all, we're going to hold a funeral for our next god on the list. It's Kronos.
Press F to pay respects.
Yep, he is now going way, way, way back into garbage tier because he is now no longer immune to basic attack movement penalty when he activates Accelerate.
Oh, but his base movement speed's increased by 5 points.
Yep, and his Accelerate's cooldown speed reduced by 2 seconds, but what made Kronos good was the basic attack movement penalty being removed when he activated Accelerate.
Yeah, you'll notice something through all of these a lot of these changes that every god that has a basic attack movement penalty will have that. That ignores their basic attack movement penalty. That has been changed so that they now have that. Unless we're talking about Erlang Sheng, who doesn't have that issue. He's still got that Fatalis effect, and his pin now no longer cripples.
It's a decent change. It removes some of the frustration about playing against Erlang Shen, because if he hit you with the center of the pin, you just had to stand there and take it like a man.
You just stood there and spun around in circles going, "Sup, guys?"
You just stood there, like, spinning around, hoping that one day you teleport back to base, which you would do under the guise of respawn time.
Yeah. But yeah, Erlang Shen keeping that Fatalis thing, Kronos being in the dumpster because he doesn't have that anymore.
Big Freya nerfs.
Oh, Freya nerfs. Freya, who, as we all know, has been a dominant force in the ADC role. She is seeing heavy nerfs this patch. Her Valkyrie's Discretion, decreasing her base damage from 120 to 240 down to 100 to 240.
She lost 80 power at level 5, guys. 80 power, that is a massive change. I mean, it's not like she could banish people, have a combo back up again, then go into the air, have a combo back up again, and basically survive any gank unimpeded.
I mean, they completely focused on Freya's issues. I mean, her issue was totally her damage on her ult. I mean, the gumballs weren't the big be-all and end-all of her damage, really, were they? No. General community sitting there going, what the hell? Freya is still a dominant force, especially with the changes to items in this patch and the new items. Freya is going to be a dominant force in Season 4 if they don't do something about her.
Everybody agreed that this wasn't a nerf, except for one player.
Ataraxia?
Ataraxia, who just said, goodbye Freya, see ya. Just like, no, Freya's still Freya. Freya still kills everybody who even steps foot into her lane.
Freya is still ridiculous. And as I said at the time, like, I like Ataraxia. He's a good guy. He can play the game. In this case, he's wrong. Freya is still ridiculous. So, you heard it here first, boys. We don't agree with Ataraxia. There's a reason he's not the world champion.
Okay, that's too soon.
I'm harsh. Guan Yu.
I'm changing the conversation now to Guan Yu, just so we can move away.
Go for it.
Okay, so he's having some changes to his healing as well. You know, theme with some of the healers having their healing changed. Decreased base healing from 65 to 185 scaling down to 50 to 150. And the boosted healings receiving a similar nerf was 130 to 370, now 100 to 300. Yep. Warrior's Will has decreased mana cost, now scales 5 per level rather than 10, slow reduced by 10%, and the boosted slow reduced by 20%, and Cavalry Charge has its damage increased at base by 10 plus 5 every other level.
Yeah. Yeah, so Guan Yu, he's had his heals reduced, but he's had his overall damage and survivability gone up a little bit, I feel. Yep. Although the Warrior's Will... the slow being reduced, I'm not sure.
Well, the reason that they reduced the slow was to focus on removing slows that had self-diminishing returns. So by reducing it to 40%, it means that it no longer applies that self-diminishing return that it used to do.
Okay, so it's a slight... Is it slightly better?
It's a slight nerf, but it's not as big of a nerf as 20%.
I'm not sure though, because did Guan want a nerf? Guan's been in an iffy position for a while, and I feel especially with these healing changes, because they've made it very clear they don't want healing in Season 4. I don't think Guan's going to get picked up.
I think he might do from time to time, but he's no longer going to be there as the healing battery in the backline. He's going to be there for damage.
Okay. I mean, he's also got the shred on his Tower Assault, which is always a really good ability if he can keep it going. There's so much CC and silence in the game now that I don't think he's going to be picked up as much as he was once. Now,
do we want to save this for after? Because we want to save this for the last change, because this is a big one.
It is. They have done some other things, but we'll get into those later. Okay, we're going to skip this god. You will tell which god it is at the end, or based on what the next letter is. Hercules.
Alright, so yeah, Hercules has had a small change to 2 of his abilities, as well as a mana cost decrease on Earthbreaker, which was his second ability. Strength from Pain is passive. Instead of it's being more power for the less HP you have. It's now he gains 5 physical power plus 1 multiplied by your level, stacking up to 3 times, lasting 5 seconds every single time he takes damage from enemy gods.
Yeah.
It's a decent change. It puts him more into this. You don't want to hit Hercules rather than you don't want to put him at low health. You want to burst him, Hercules.
Yeah, this is if you let Hercules run around at low health, he's gonna step all over your face, sort of Hercules.
Oh, this is if you're trying to fight Hercules and you don't burst him quickly.
Yeah, if you don't kill him and he's running around in circles, and then he hits you in the face, that's when you got to panic.
The other ability which is seeing a rework is Mitigate Wounds. Before, it used to give you a bit of healing over time, and then it would heal you based on how much damage you've taken. Now, it's going to give you an initial heal of 75 to 175, and then a heal over time of, again, 75 to 175 over the next 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Its cooldown's been reduced to 15 seconds, and its mana cost is now at 60 at all ranks. But the best thing about this is it now gives protections, and 10 to 50 in each rank.
A ton of protections. I'm liking these changes in general. Because I feel Hercules is now a more viable pick. Hercules has always been a more difficult god to kill. Mitigate Wounds, I'm not sure how I feel about the Mitigate Wounds change. But in general, I like him.
I don't like the fact that it's changed one of the more unique abilities and more skill-based abilities in the game.
Yeah.
Like, it may not seem at first, but Mitigate Wounds, if you used it at the wrong time, was going to kill you instantly. But if you used it at the right time, would make you able to eat every single ultimate in the game and still be fine.
Yeah, Hercules was that heal has been a very interesting one for quite some time, and a lot of people have struggled to get the timing right on it. And it was one of those quintessential, if you get it wrong, you die. If you get it right, you're set, essentially. I mean, removing some of the uniqueness of him, I'm not keen on. But it's not a terrible change.
No.
It's just not liking it as much as old Mitigate Wounds kind of change.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. He may see a bit more play now based on that passive alone. So, we'll see.
Alright, but yeah, we're going to go on to Hunbats next, who's receiving very small changes. Overhand Smash, 10% extra scaling, Somersault, 10% reduced slow.
Yep.
Similar to the one you changed just to avoid self-diminishing returns.
Yep, and the Overhand Smash, they wanted to increase the amount of damage based on how long it takes to build up that ability. Like, the wait time between casting Overhead Smash and it hitting, increasing the scaling makes it a little bit more worth it. Jingwei! She's had her general base health scaling down from 78 to 72. Her base movement speed is down from 370 to 365. Her rapid reincarnation has a duration decrease from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. And agility has had its mana cost decrease from 75 at all ranks to 75 to 55. But it also no longer provides immunity to basic attack penalty.
Goodbye, Jingwei.
I think she's still going to get a good use.
She could still farm effectively and still go into the late game happy that she could do damage, but she's no longer the most insane hunter they've ever released.
No, I think she's more in line with other hunters now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you'll notice as well there was an item earlier which basically gave you a Pseudo Jingwei passive, just to point out that doesn't stack with her flight. So bear that in mind. Next up, Khepri. Khepri being put in a pretty good place here with this patch, I feel. Solar Flare has been increased in damage from 40 to 200 to 50 to 250. And Scout Blessing has had his ultimate cooldown increased from 90 to 110 seconds. Scout Blessing was seeing a lot of use in fights and turning the tides of so many fights and being readily available. Increasing the cooldown has lowered its use, but still allows him to turn the tide of fights.
Yep, but that's what Guardians needed, more damage.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I think Khepri's in a good place.
He's in a good place. He's in a good place.
He's in good place.
I think it was in a good place beforehand.
Yeah.
But the cooldown increase was needed.
It was seeing a lot of use. So Khepri, good changes in Khepri. Medusa has had her Lacerate and Petrify numbers changed a bit. Lacerate increased base damage from 80 to 240 up to 80 to 280. And she's increased the healing reduction from 10 to 50 to 50 at all ranks. Petrify has also seen its damage on turned away targets increased from 50 to 75. Medusa a lot more viable now, I feel.
Medusa is one of the top tier hunters now. As Jingwei falls, Medusa rises to near enough to the top along with Apollo.
That petrify damage.
The petrify is stupidly good now.
So we're probably going to see a lot more Medusas in your matches. Watch out for those. Remember the effects of petrify and panic. Next up, Naja. Universal Ring Toss's cooldown has been increased from 12 seconds to 14 seconds. Flaming Spear's cooldown has been decreased from 18 seconds at all ranks to 18 to 14, changing each level. And our Military Sash has had its cooldown decreased from 18 to 14 down to 14 at all ranks.
I like these changes because it forces you to make a decision between Flaming Spear and Artillery Sash. Do you want to reduce the cooldown of Flaming Spear to get your heal up more often? Or do you want to increase your Artillery Sash's rank to gain more damage out of it?
Yeah. So now having to choose, I like the changes to Nisha. He's still pretty strong though. Universal Ring Toss is his main damage, isn't it? Really? So that's going to go down a bit. But in general, I like those changes.
I like it too. Nike finally receiving some quote nerfs end quote to victory passive. Decreased bonus power from 8, 10, 12 to 6, 8, 10%. Rend lost 10% scaling per hit, and Sentinel of Zeus has lost 10% scaling.
She's still ridiculous.
She's still stupidly good.
She's still ridiculous. That's basically summed up Nike. Noir. Oh man, this is a huge change. Soldiers' basic attacks now deal magical instead of physical.
Yep, only God in the game who got the benefit of physical power auras as a mage.
Yep.
Now no longer does.
Yep.
Rest in peace.
Ra. Now, Ra is one of the many healers that are being hit in this. We'll mention the other one later. Ra's Solar Blessing. The base healing has been decreased from 20 to 60 per tick down to 10 to 50 per tick. That's 10 per level down. The magical power scaling on his healing has gone from 15 to 10% per tick, and he now provides 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 magical and physical protections to allies inside the ability.
They did this already.
Yes. So,
welcome to Season 4, everybody. It's a rehash of Season 1.
Yep, and we all know how fun that was. But yeah, I'm trying to encourage more combat fighting, or combat healing in general. Trying to lower down the healing as well. Ra, one of the few healers who's actually going to see as much play now as he did before. I feel, but I think they've given as they've taken away. But he's still pretty good.
Yeah, he's still in a spot where you can pick him, but his heal is no longer focused on just the healing. It's more they're trying to put it so it's more effective as a combat heal again.
Yeah.
So, again, I like it. Rama, he needed the nerfs as well.
Yep.
Rolling Assault, his dash had scaling cooldown of 12 to 8, now at 11 seconds at all ranks.
Good change.
Good change.
Yep.
Circuit.
Yep. Catalyst. Increased damage from consuming 2 potions. Wait, what?
Poisons.
It says increased damage from consuming 2 poisons from 10% to 15% of target's max health. Increased damage from consuming 3 poisons from 20 to 25% of a target's max health.
Doesn't change the core problems of Circuit, though, in the fact she was always able to burst people. The issue was she was incredibly squishy.
Yeah.
Didn't really have too great of a mobility for how unsafe she was, and just couldn't really defend her own jungle effectively.
Yeah. So she's probably going to still see the same issues she's had, just going to be killing you a lot quicker if you don't know she's there. Skadi, she's had her base movement increased from 370 to 375. Rune of the Hunt decreased Calder's basic attack damage from 50 to 90% down to 40 to 80% of Skadi's basic attack damage, and Permafrost increased the movement speed from 25 to 40%.
I'm not too sure what these changes are trying to highlight, because the Rune of the Hunt is enough to Calder because he was ridiculously annoying.
Yeah.
But then they also gave Skadi increased movement speed, which by proxy increases Calder's movement speed, meaning he has the greater ability to chase you down after a fight.
Yeah.
Overall, it's a readjustment to Skadi, which puts her in a bit of a better place, a bit more survivable, especially with the Permafrost change.
Yeah.
But she still runs into the same problems of she has 1 CC that's on her ultimate.
Okay, so Skadi, quality of life, really.
Yeah.
Soul, Disapparate, no longer provides immunity to basic attack movement penalty. Increased movement speed buff from 20 to 30 to 20 to 40%.
Yep. goodbye Soul's Fatalis effect, but it wasn't one that you used for a Fatalis effect. You used it aggressively sometimes, but now it's going to be more as that defensive ability, still able to be used as an effective magical ADC.
Yeah. Sun Wukong, you can try. I'm trying to rush through these now.
Yeah,
you've been here for a while. Sun Wukong, undefeated body, increased health threshold from the effect from 35 to 40%, no longer grants critical strike chance, now provides 10% physical power and +2 physical power per level. Somersault Cloud, damage increased from 140 to 340, increased to 200 to 400.
60% power, 60% damage increase per rank in Somersault Cloud, and undefeated body changed as it needed to fit more within Sun Wukong's kit rather than just giving him useless crit.
The crit was pointless.
Yeah, Susanoo is the next one to receive, this time some buffs.
Ridiculous buffs.
Yep, Wind Siphon, increased physical damage scaling from 25% to 60%. Jetstream, tooltip update to say exactly what the damage is doing.
Yep.
And Typhoon now deals bonus damage the longer it charges in addition to the base damage, max scatter 100 damage at all ranks.
Yep.
He didn't have the ability to quite burst you down like he did when he was released and for a few patches afterwards. Now he still doesn't, but he can almost do it.
He's in a better place. Much better.
He's in a better place, but again, he suffers from some of the similar problems that he always has done.
Sylvanas, Verdant Growth now applies protection reductions of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 for 5 seconds on hit of enemy gods. Wisps, same as every other healer, decrease the base healing from 25 to 45 down to 15 to 35, and decrease magical power scaling on healing from 15 to 10% per tick. So Sylvanas...
adjustments. The Wisps needed a nerf given how prevalent Sylvanas was at Worlds. Verdant Growth needed this buff because it was just a root before.
Yeah. Terror. Force of Nature, increased base damage from 60 to 220 up to 60 to 260. Monolith, decreased base healing, again, like everything else, from 5 to 25 down to 3 to 15. That's a heavy nerf. Terror's Blessing, decreased base healing from 100 to 500 down to 100 to 300. Wow.
Again, Terror needed nerfs. They haven't really hit the problem of Terror, which is Terror's Blessing movement speed, plus the fact that people can cast abilities for free.
Yeah. So, she's still pretty good. She's doing a good spot.
Second to last God change.
Oh my god, I really need to pee. Thoth, Evade and Punish no longer slows enemies by a hit. Now stuns enemies for 1 second or rent, because that's what he needed. Glyph of Pain, increase ally basic attack bonus damage from 5 to 25 up to 10 to 30. Increase ally basic attack bonus damage scaling from 5 to 10. Final Judgment, decreased base damage, yay, from 360 to 680 down to 360 to 640. Decreased damage scaling from 140% to 120%. Increased cooldown from 75 to 90. Jesus, I'm so glad I'm not going to get one shot by Thoth anymore.
Final Judgment needed the nerfs, but still going through Glyph of Pain will still make it one of the most damaging abilities in the game. Probably more... It's still probably going to do more than Spirit of the Nine Winds or I'm a Monster.
Yeah.
But the Evade and Punish now stuns enemies. Why, oh why are they giving one of the safest mid-mages in the game a stun?
Yep. It's Thoth, man. They're never going to get him right.
Well, I'm done with ranting for the day. It's your turn to rant.
Yep. Okay, Hell is being changed, boys. She's been changed. They've changed it on the PTS at this point in time, but these are the original changes. But we'll just say what's happened. In general, she's had her health increased to 380. Decay Restoration has been changed. Decay now passes through hit targets dealing damage and explodes at max range upon hitting a wall. Light Stance, this ability no longer deals damage or hits enemies. This ability now hits friendly gods only, healing them on hit and then healing Hell if the hit was successful. Ridiculous, stupid changes, don't like them. Hinder, Cleanse, it's 2. In Light Stance, CC immunity increased from 1.25 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Good, I like it. Repulse, Inspire, Light Stance. This ability now heals smaller amounts every 1 second for a 6-second duration. Light Heal, 5 to 25 plus 5 scaling each 1 second for 6 seconds. Buy a health pot, don't bother picking Hell. Jesus Christ, I don't know why they did this. Hell's a burst mage, removing her burst heal in an AoE effect. Ridiculous. She still retains her movement speed buff, which is good, but the heal is ridiculous. The 5% scaling, what's the point? It's so poor. Switch stances, the MP5 now applies to both stances, and is decreased from 15 to 35 down to 5 to 25, but you don't have to be in light stance for it. In return for that, light stance now provides additional magical and physical protections of 5 to 25. That's an increase of 5 per level. I like it, but it doesn't help because you still got to be in the middle of your enemies to use your most damaging ability, which is Repulse, and she doesn't get the protections.
Alright, now to say what's gone on in the round 1 PTS hotfixes. Hel has had the restoration. Her first ability this ability now only heals herself and allies if hit an allied god.
Yep.
This ability can now also deal 70, 120, 170, 220, 270 plus 50% of your magical power damage to enemy gods, but will not heal Hel.
Like it.
I like it. It gives her more boxing potential.
It's essentially what it was before, just without the heal. So I'm not going to complain about that. The big issue everyone who played Hel a fair amount had with these changes was that she lost the damaging ability. Now she retains it, so her boxing potential is back.
Inspire, each one of those base ranks, so it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, has been increased by 5 to 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 per tick. And Hel heals instantly from Inspire for the full amount, i.e. 60, 90, 120, 150, 180 plus 30% of the magical power, and allies will still be healed for the heal over the time duration.
Yep. And her stance change has actually been increased back up to 15 to 35, which is good. So I feel with these new changes on the PTS, Hel is actually going to be in a good spot, especially if she can burst heal herself and then burst heal someone else with her one. Yeah.
And I definitely have a couple of ideas for Hel, which I'm not sharing with the public just yet. I'm still testing things, and we may or may not be bringing it out in Season 4.
Okay, don't give everyone your secrets. But there you go, guys. That's a long one. I'm sure you, like me, need to pee. So, yeah. That's a lot of changes to go through. There's going to be a lot of things changing before they come out, I feel. Yeah. So bear that in mind when looking at this. But Season 4 is going to be an interesting one, I feel.
It's the season of Snowball. It's the season of Return of Season 1 and
anti-heal as well. No healers. Yep, so there you go. But guys, if you do like this show, do let us know. Let us know on comments. You can send the comments on the SoundCloud and other YouTube videos. You can also send us a tweet at Pantheon Podcast. Go check it out. We'll see it. You can also contact me, Darkkai3, at Darkkai3. And you can check out AlphaJackal, which is at AlphaJackal. We're pretty straightforward, really, aren't we?
Yep.
Yep, but there we go, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Do click the follow button on all of these things. SoundCloud is actually now Pantheon Podcast, so all good there. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the show, guys. Have a very good day wherever you are. And it's goodbye from me. And it's goodbye from AJ as well. I was hoping he'd roll into that.
No, you did. You said it's a goodbye from you, then didn't say goodbye.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Okay, it's alright. So goodbye from me. Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.